We'll call to order the full city council meeting for February 1st, 2022. The clerk will call the roll to record attendance.
Anderson Burgos. Bartley.
Here.
Givner.
Here.
Jordan.
Here.
Maldonado Velez.
Here.
McGee.
Here.
McGivern.
Here.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Here.
Puolo.
Here.
I. Rivera.
Here.
J. Rivera.
Here.
Tallman.
Here.
Bacon.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
And the city of Holyoke.
And the City Council.
Amen.
Before we get started, I just want to ask that we do a moment of silence. As I think we all know, Councilor Leahy, his mother passed away, Mary Ellen Leahy. Just a wonderful woman. I've known her since I was a baby. They talk about, a village raising a family. In that neighborhood where I grew up, Mrs. Leahy was like a village. She took everyone in, all the kids in. She loved them. She was kind. She was a wonderful woman. And no kid in that neighborhood went without. If you did wrong, she got mad at you. But she took care of you. If you did right, and you did something good, she praised you and she loved you. I will miss this woman.
And our Grand Colleen.
And she was a grand Colleen. I'm sorry to lose it, but it's like losing a mom. So I'd ask for a moment of silence for Miss Leahy. Thank you. On a happier note, and I have to do this for her. If you do Facebook, I don't. But here's that picture. I want to say happy birthday to my Mac Murphy McGee, my 4-year-old. I love you, sweetheart. With that, one side note. We pulled the name. Councilor Velez, you will be going first on votes when we go around when the clerk calls it. With that, one thing to point out was a few phone calls have come in to Jeffrey. Please, when speaking, speak into the mic. Don't sit back. Some people are having trouble hearing us. So with that, we'll go to item number 1. There's 2 items that were laid on the table. Any action on 1 or 2?
I'll make a motion to remove item 1 from the table.
I'll second that.
Motion is removed from the table. It was seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The Committee on Ordinance was referred in order that Chapter 2, Article 2, Division 6, Administrative Assistant to the City Council, duties generally be amended to add additional categories of duties pertaining to management and updates to the city webpage. Recommended that be adopted. Motion be receive, adopt. Councilor Bacon.
Have we heard from the mayor?
I do believe the last time he was here, he said he was in support of this, if I remember that correctly, didn't he? And that's what we were waiting for. Yeah. So
So we have-
so he was here last time, and there was a change in the language that was first given to us when he was first here. That has now come back with
We
that
have-
change that he has requested.
So we have the
So,
change.
yeah, so we should be up to date on that.
Thank you.
Councilor Bartley.
Well, I guess we don't have a motion in front of us, but if under discussion, do we have that? I haven't seen it. Okay, so was this filed?
Right?
Oh, this,
Item 1.
So it was emailed the last meeting.
okay, this is before from the last
Yeah,
meeting.
and you have it for tonight
Okay.
as well. Any questions?
This is the one marked, manage the social media policy, this additional sixth paragraph, that's all we're voting on, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the administrative assistant approves of this?
Yep.
Okay.
Anyone further?
And the president approves of this?
Yep.
Okay.
This is something for the new people. It was Mayor Murphy that was working on this. They had a shortage in his office. Jeffrey stepped up, has been doing a wonderful job. Mayor Murphy tried to give him some money through a stipend, but through the rules, the state came back and said you have to do it this way.
Yep.
Of which then the new mayor came in and seeing how the work is still going well, said so long as we all agree and work together on this, he would be in support of it.
Okay.
Councilor McGivern.
I hope at the appropriate time that the mayor recognizes a salary adjustment would be in order, certainly with the approval of the city council. But more important, when we were talking to Mayor Garcia and to our administrative assistant, what Jeff does is wonderful and talented and very important, because this essentially makes him the webmaster. The important thing, though, is that every department head is responsible for their own portion of the website, and they should be doing their work, not our administrative assistant. He's there for technical assistance and making sure things are working right. But they shouldn't be calling Jeff to do their work.
Correct.
They should just be using him for, professional, IT, questions and stuff like that.
You should take it through as an
Correct.
ordinance change for the motions. You should
Mr. President?
take the motions.
Mr.
through
President?
An ordinance change.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo some of the things that Councilor McGivern said. I believe it's a webmaster. I believe it's a role that should be on its own, but today I will vote yes, only because, one, Jeffrey's doing a great job on it, and that's where we're at right now. But I do believe in the future we should consider making this its own position. I just wanted to put that out there. But thanks, Jeffrey, for all that you're doing, because I've gotten great feedback.
Anyone further? All right, so motion.
So the motion is to pass the first reading.
Pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is to pass the second reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
And motion that the passage be ordained.
Motion is that the passage be ordained. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for this change.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
I. Rivera,
Yes.
J. Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous.
With your vote, you approve that one. Anything on two?
Yeah.
And Counselor Anderson Burgos did abstain from that. I'm not sure if the recording caught it. All right, so on
So-
to, oh, yes, Counselor.
I think we're ready to deal with item 2, are we? Do we have the update where we were changing section B to 24 hours? So I'd like to make a motion to take that off the table.
All right,
Second
the
that.
motion is take up item number 2 that's laid on the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And that is where we were looking to amend, getting rid of the 8 hours and just keeping in the 24. I do believe in section B, which my copy has that.
Okay. So then the motion would be to pass the first reading?
No discussion. All right, so motion is passed the first reading. All in favor? All opposed?
Motion to pass the second
Motion is
reading?
passed the second reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
And a motion that the passage be ordained.
Motion that the passage be ordained. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for item 2.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
I. Rivera,
Yes.
J. Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos, Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous.
With your vote, you approve that one. Public comment? I see there's a sheet out there, but did we? And here we have Cynthia, and I can't read the handwriting. Sorry, I apologize. So name and address, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Yeah, Cynthia Espinosa Marrero. I'm here representing Nueva Esperanza on 401 Main Street as the executive director. And I'm just here I was a former employee of the city. I'm here to answer some questions that are some agenda items. One of it is the communications number 12 from Councilor Maldonado Velez on Holyoke Food Equity Coalition bylaws. I worked closely with Aaron Vega in the OPED office on that. And also agenda item number, sorry, I'm scrolling, 32, I believe, which is the Puerto Rican Cultural District. So here to support it, but also be able to answer questions as a former employee. I worked on it and happy to give as much clarity as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone online or? So if there's anyone online, you can raise your hand. Seeing none online, none in the room, off to communications.
Mr. President, can we take 3, 4, and 5 and ship them to public service, please?
Second.
Suspended rules, take up 3, 4, and 5 as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No, excuse me, I have a question.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Number 4 is actually, this has been in my jacket for DGR for over a year. And I'm wondering well, first of all, I'm kind of wondering why that happened that way. And just wondering if it should continue to go that way, if it was referred by the council prior to DGR.
Actually, Mr. President.
Hold on, Councilor Jordan.
Actually, Councilor Murphy Ramboletti raises a good point. There is an item over in DGNR, and I think for clarity, both items should go to public service and let the Public Service Committee handle the nomination as they do all the other nominations. And I would recommend that we refer both items to the Public Service Committee. And if that means we need to remove it from the jacket and refer it over to public service, assuming the chairman, Councilor Tallman, approves.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And on that number 4, the name is misrepresented. It should be Robert Griffin and not Robert Gentile.
Yeah, Father Gentile is not on.
That's right. That's right. But I think it does belong in public service, and I'm willing to take that up as time permits.
All right. Anyone further?
And just a
Councilor
question.
Aiken.
Is Mr. Griffin currently serving in that
Yes,
position?
he serves until he's replaced.
And he's,
But his term was up last year.
right.
or
But
2
he
years
has
ago,
been
actually.
serving and doing the job.
Yes, he's doing the job right now.
Thank you.
All right, so 3, for those who are at home, this is a letter from the mayor appointing Maureen Tisdale to acting director of Park and Rec. 4 is Marcos Morero to commissioner of the Gas and Electric. And 5 is a letter appointing Nicholas Duclos to Park and Rec. So all those to public service. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And-
6.
Oh, no, Mr. President, I made the motion to remove the Marrero item from DGNR and move it to public service.
And remove the one that's currently in
And-
DGNR over to public service. On that
Second
one?
that.
Just to clarify, I am planning to, for what it's worth, the letter that has been sitting in DGR for over a year was appointed by Mayor Morse, so it may not make sense to have, we can probably just give that leave to withdraw from DGR. I just was curious as to why it was referred to DGR in the first place, but hopefully, I have full faith in the Public Service Committee to address this in a more timely manner this time.
So that one can go over there just so we can clear it out, clear the house out. So for that one to go over from DGNR to public service, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, so now to 6, Commonwealth of Massachusetts Local Election District Review Commission. This is for effective date, new wards and precincts as of December 31st, 2021. So that would be just to receive.
Motion to
Sure.
receive.
Motion.
Copy go to the
And
DGNR, because
DGNR?
that's what took taken up. Yep.
So receive, copy to DGNR. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 7 is the Redevelopment Authority Annual Report. Motion be to receive.
Receive.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 8 is from Alicia Zoller, a letter regarding the Office of Community Development, or activities there, so motion be received, probably DGNR.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 9 is proposed language changes to ordinance 2-201,
Receive
2-221.
and send to ordinance.
Motion be received, send to ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 10 is the Fire Commissioner meeting for December 29, 2021. Motion be received. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 11 is from Councilor Maldonado Velez. The City Council will examine the titles in sections 2 and send to Charter and Rules. This is a communication, so I think we
Steve,
took
send
that up
to Charter
and
and
we took
Rules?
that, right?
Yeah, it's just these were just the examples I wanted to.
Oh, the examples. Oh, yeah, that's right. So in Charter and Rules, he was sending examples to everyone to review to see. So motion be
Receive and refer to Charter and Rules.
to receive and then send copies to Charter and Rules. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Also from Councilor Maldonado Velez, a communication regarding the Hoyok Food Coalition bylaws, and that would be to Charter and Rules as well.
That is going to, so the original order was referred to public safety and public service.
All right, so public safety. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 13 is a renewal for a petition at 145 Mountain View Drive for a painting business. Let me just get out
Motion to approve the
Approve.
renewal if all
Pending everything was paid.
items are present and accounted for.
Any prior conditions remain, if any?
I'll second that.
This is painting, taxes paid. I don't see any conditions at all. So motion would be to receive, grant the renewal, and if there were any conditions that aren't listed here, approve them. There was? Okay, so the prior conditions will carry over with this one. So with that, we'll have the clerk call the roll to grant the renewal.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
I. Rivera,
Yes.
J. Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner. Yes. Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous.
For your vote, you approve that one. 14 is a petition for a new secondhand license
Receive Committee on Finance?
Finance. Second.
for 332 Pleasant Street, so that is to finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. We're rolling, almost at ordinance. President's report real quickly. The mayor has reached out. I think Jeffrey might have sent it, and I might have missed it. But he's looking for anyone who might want to serve on a committee that he's establishing for the school department building and the options of moving them or buying the building or what have you. We took this up. Kevin, you were the president back then.
Yes.
Came up with probably 8 different options as to what to do with the school department on moving them. Ultimately, we had a new lease and different rent, and we looked at several buildings, Lynch being one of them, so that option's gone. So
I would like to nominate someone.
So what we can do is, if you want to be on it, let me know, and Rory is trying to set up times to get people to review what was options and maybe come up with other ones. I know the federal money that came in, the ARPA money, can be used to potentially purchase the building that they're currently in, or fix up over here the annex that is in desperate need of help, and then maybe move people there. Those are just some of the options that I remember. But if you want to be on it, you can say it tonight. If not, email me, text me, and I'll get you on.
Mr. President,
Yeah.
I'm okay with being on it if I'm the only option. If there's others, then
It can be, it's not just one, it can be whoever.
okay.
I'd like to nominate Counselor Puello, who's already on the school building thing too.
I'm humbled, Counselor.
If he's willing to consider it, but him or Counselor Rivera would both be excellent.
Yep.
I agree.
Put them both on. So I'll tell the mayor tomorrow, or I'll email him tonight, depending on how fast we get out of here.
Very good.
Anyone else? All right, with that, the other one was the Parade Committee. They're going to be having their ambassador breakfast March 20th. It's at Wyckoff Country Club. Jeffrey has the forms. If you are intending on going to that, you have to sign up sooner rather than later because it will be closed out for obvious reasons. So if you want it, please see Jeffrey ASAP in order to get to there. I did talk about the mics, and I do believe I'm caught up there. Unless I missed anything, any meetings or anything else?
Mr. President?
Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, just, I'm glad you brought up the mic thing. I have somebody, Kevin's really familiar with Sister Judy.
Yeah.
He watches these meetings religiously, and it's not just speaking into the mic, it's also with the mask on. Sometimes it's difficult to hear.
Yep.
And we had an issue years ago with the sound system, and now I think it's much better, with the new, technology. So if everybody, just go into the mic, I don't have to scream into it, but, sometimes we lean back, we're saying something, we're just sitting back here and we're not talking into the mic. Especially with the mask, it's hard to hear. So if we could, because there's a lot of people, you don't realize how many people are watching this at home. And not just this meeting, but all the committee meetings too.
That's right.
So it's important for them to be able to hear what's going on in the city.
And went further. Okay, so we're on to ordinance. Before we get there, page... 2, 3, 4. All right, the 5th page, trivia question. Last one, Committee on Ordinance was referred in order that the City of Holyoke remove the Code of Ordinance Appendix A. What is that symbol?
The last symbol on the keyboard, apparently.
When reviewing the agendas, and you go A to Z, and you're like, oh, I've never seen it go to Z, and then it went into symbols, and then it went into lowercase. But I saw that symbol, I said, what is that one? Last one on page 5. Well, I had to go to someone a lot smarter than me. I went to my wife, and she said, that's the circumflux. Whatever that means. But just, in case, someone asks you about it tomorrow, you have the
Trivia.
answer. All right, so let's go. We'll go on to ordinance. Counselor, I'm going to turn over to you, Counselor Bacon. How do you want to proceed with this?
Okay, so the items 15A through 15G and taking out of order 15O are regular order items to be taken up each on their own for under regular business.
Okay.
Then when we get to 15J, we will be able to take 15J to the end of the ordinance report up as a package.
Okay.
The committee has reviewed these. They are almost all from 2018 and 2019. And so that will be taken up as a package to be given leave to withdraw.
Okay.
The only one we're pulling out somehow, got stuck in the middle of that, and I'm going to pull that out in the regular order.
Oh, that oh. All right. So we'll go to A first. Mm-hmm. All right. A, Committee on Ordinance was referred, order zone change application from R1 to RM20 for Cherry Hill Estates. Recommended it be adopted.
So the motion is to receive and adopt the committee report and pass the first reading.
Motion is to receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Under discussion, Counselor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we had our public hearings on this matter. The new committee met because the first hearing had taken place with the prior council. And so we did a little bit of a redo with the applicant for the benefit of 4 out of 5 of the members. And we also had the recommendation from the planning board that was a unanimous recommendation to grant the zone change to make it consistent for the parcel. And the committee's also recommending unanimously that we approve this zone change.
Anyone under discussion? Counselor Bartley.
Yeah, just for the benefit of, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to the chair for taking this up. The prior ordinance committee and then the current ordinance committee did a great job. A lot of good questions. As I said, there's probably at least 3 public hearings on this. There is no opposition to this. And as I said on the microphone in committee meeting, Mr. President, there are a few things more controversial in zone changes. this raised no controversy whatsoever. A, because it fits, but I think most importantly, it's because you've got two local advocates, petitioners that are well respected without a hint of controversy, and they know this area. Also, Mr. President, this is going to create housing. Now, we know that there's 6.7 acres. They couldn't quantify the number of units at the time in the last public hearing, but when we look at the number of units that sits on the existing footprint, we could probably do a quick back of napkin sketch and find out you're looking at probably one building, maybe two, and they may or may not be housing units. It may be a building for amenities. But in order for the developer to move this along, the developer needed an RM20. And some might say, well, why don't you start the process beforehand? Well, it's not that easy. And so it's an expensive process to go ahead. I think as the chair pointed out that night, it's contiguous. There's already RM20 there. And as I said, the public didn't weigh in on this. Now, it wasn't either pro or con. There just was no weighing in. But we do know that all the butters were notified. For my part, I know the two petitioners pretty well, just professionally. I don't know them any other way. But I would say that I think that it would be a service to the city. I think it would be a great amenity. And the last point, Mr. President, we've been talking about this formally and informally for years. The city could really use some condominium units. I think as Pete pointed out, or maybe it was Councilor Murphy at the time, all these units there, and they're probably well over 100, they've all turned over in the last year. I mean, it's been, wow, just a tidal wave, and I think that speaks to volumes about and a good thing too, about that development and about the city. Its proximity to the college, the hiking trails, 91 north to south, whatever. So, I mean, these are just some of the things that we talked about in committee, among many others. But there was a lot of good hearings on this, and this has my full support. Thank you.
Anyone further? Councilor Aiken.
I would just like to quickly note, as the Ward 5 counselor, I'm also strongly in support of this. I'm hearing a lot of residents say they want to find an option from maintaining their home that is lower maintenance. And if it is possible for more units to be added there, I think it would be great for the neighborhood and the city as a whole. Thank you.
So with that, it's passed the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those
Motion
opposed?
passed the second reading.
Motion passed the second reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion that the passage be ordained.
Motion that the passage be ordained. The clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the change.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern. Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
Ivy Vera,
Yes.
J. Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Did he come through or?
Anderson Burgos,
Oh, you can't hear me?
no,
I said yes. Sorry.
okay, it's okay. Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
unanimous.
With your vote, you approve that one? I'm just really happy that Murphy Ramboletti is now voting on time. From last time we met. All right, just a little side joke from Trevor.
I'm a little traumatized from that.
All right, 15B. Committee on Ordinances refer in order that the city remove the no parking signs proximate to 274 South and 2 Brown Ave. Let's see, recommend that be adopted.
So the motion is to receive, adopt the committee report, and pass the first reading.
Motion to receive, adopt, pass first reading. Councilor Bacon.
This is pretty straightforward. The cautionary note that was written to the committee from our city engineer was that the friendly reminder, no parking when there's snow issues, because if that is not abided by, it will create serious problems in that area. So understanding that and knowing that the residents who wished them to be removed understand it, we're recommending that the council approve.
Seeing no one, motion is passed the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to pass the second
Motion is
reading.
passed the second reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion that the passage be
Motion is that
ordained.
the passage be ordained. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for removal of the signs.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
Ivy Vera,
Yes.
J.B. Vera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes. Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous.
We vote you approve that one. 15C, the committee on ordinances referred in order that the city amend its ordinances to limit parking in front of the business at 548 South Street. They want to put a cap on the parking for hours of 1 hour. Recommend it be adopted. Counselor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to receive and adopt the committee report and pass the first reading.
Motion is-
However, I do want to also mention that the committee is recommending hours. It should be on your copy there. I believe 11 a.m. to 9?
10 p.m. 10 p.m.
10
it says.
p.m.
PM.
Yep, that does have it here.
Okay,
So
thank
motion
you.
is-
So the motion is to pass the first reading with those hours noted.
Seeing none, so pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion that the passage be ordained.
Motion that the passage be ordained. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for that change.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
Ivy Vera,
Yes.
J.B. Vera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous.
With your vote, you approve that one. Do you want to take D and E as a package?
One is to add and one is to remove, but sure.
Yeah. All right, so,
Motion to take 15D and E as a package.
so suspend the rules, take them up as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed. D is to handicap sign be placed at 70 Walnut. E is a handicap sign be removed from 130 Cabot. Motion be receive,
Motion is
adopt,
to
pass the
receive and
first
adopt and
reading.
pass the first reading.
Any other discussion? Counselor Bacon.
So on 15D, this is a new location and it was vetted by the Disabilities Commission and recommended to be approved. And E is a sign that was no longer needed, I believe, because the person moved. I could stand corrected on that, but I believe that's the case.
All right, so hearing no one, no questions. Pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion that the passage be ordained.
Motion that the passage be ordained. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for D and E, one to put up, one to remove.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
Ivy Vera,
Yes.
J.B. Vera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous.
With your vote, you approve those two. 15F, the committee on ordinance was referred in order that additional speed limit signs be posted on Homestead Ave. Recommended that be adopted.
Motion to receive and adopt the committee report and pass the first reading.
Motion is receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Under discussion, Counselor Bacon.
Thank you. Our city engineer, Bob Parent, reviewed the area and made recommendations to us and suggested certain locations. And so the committee accepted his recommendations and voted to recommend approval and have the engineer cite the signs where most appropriate. Thank you.
So just to Counselor Bacon, there's nothing attached for locations and sightings for like mapping out his ordinance, so
Yes.
is it just to receive and adopt, or do we still have to do it as passing the first reading and everything else? Because I don't have anything here for.
Oh, in
location.
terms of the legal form?
Yeah.
For making the speed signs in ordinance?
Yeah,
All right, well then, we will have to do receive and adopt and then come back if we're gonna put them in ordinance.
do you want to table it till next?
I'd rather receive and
Okay,
adopt
okay.
because I'd rather let him go ahead and place them.
Okay.
Do we have to put
I don't think so,
seating
but
signs in ordinance? I guess we can, but.
that's why I was only asking, because when we were going to pass the first reading, I didn't have the legal form.
Good
through.
question.
But no, how about motion be receive and adopt, and if Jeffrey can follow up just to make sure, on F.
Sure. Okay,
right.
so motion to receive and adopt.
Motion is
same time.
receive and adopt. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And that one we'll just put a, make sure on. 15G, Committee on Ordinances refer in order that the ordinance establish fines for illegal operating of dirt bikes be established at the
President?
highest possible level. Recommend it be adopted.
Can we take up 15G and pull out 15O out of order because they're on the same subject?
Second?
All right, suspend the rules to take up G and O. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So I read G. O is Committee on Ordinance to refer in order that the ordinance be established prohibiting gas stations from selling gas to illegal dirt bikes. Recommended that order be denied.
Okay,
So
so,
15G, once again, is to adopt. The other one is to deny, just so we don't get confused. Counselor Bacon.
thank you, Mr. President. So the motion is to receive and adopt the committee report and pass the first reading.
Motion to receive, adopt, pass first reading. Under discussion.
So this particular order had a lot of discussion in the last session, which we continued in this session. We did have the advantage of having legal form in the committee for everyone to review, so I trust everybody on council had it timely. It's fairly comprehensive, but this is the collaborative initiative that Mayor Murphy started with Springfield and Chicopee, and the committee recommended unanimously to adopt. Thank you.
Any questions? No. So G and.
And so,
So G, why don't we just take up G,
Yeah.
because there's no legal form for the other one. So G is passed first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion that the passage be ordained.
Motion that the passage be ordained. The clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for 15G, which is the ordinance on fines for illegal bikes.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
Ivy Vera,
Yes.
J.B. Vera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous.
With your vote, you approve that one. 15O
Uh,
is for the selling of gas to illegal bikes, and that was to be denied. So, Counselor Bacon.
So the motion from committee is to receive and adopt the committee report. Being the dissenting vote, I'll give the committee report and the minority report. So this item was before us, and it had come to the council at the time that we were talking about the fines and the problems of the people swarming, the people driving, and we were trying to work on ordinances to try to limit, prohibit, deter this activity that was threatening drivers on the road. So two of our abutting communities, Chicopee and Springfield, adopted it on a model out of Connecticut, which they had found great success with. Our committee felt on one part that it wasn't enforceable, and on another part, it might be unfairly enforced. The proponent of it and myself saw it as a process and an approach to try to deter the use of those off-road vehicles. Having said that, the committee voted 4-1 to bring it to council to deny.
Okay, Counselor Jordan.
Yes, Mr. President. Just to add a little bit more to the chair's very good report, I would just simply say that a couple different points. One was we wanted something that was enforceable. The new ordinance that we just adopted at 15G addresses the needs of the community, addresses the concerns, at least in part, or largely in part, that have been presented to many of us in the room. that they're very concerned about illegal conduct going on with various off-road vehicles around town, that the council passed some very stiff penalties for people who would violate these rules that are of a nature that one could give out a citation and hit some people with some heavy fines. Absolutely, 15G is some heavy penalties. There's penalties in state law for doing these things. This ordinance that we just adopted at 15G far exceeds that, and I think is going to give the police, for those that would harass people, for people that would operate these vehicles in an obnoxious way, some real teeth under the ordinances. What 15O is a bridge too far. 15O went, although well-intentioned, and I commend, as always, the maker of the order who brought this forward with the other item because he wanted this topic addressed because it is a real problem. And I've had constituents call me. I actually had a constituent whose vehicle was circled by a number of these dirt bike people and harassing him on his ride home. We don't need that in the community. But this whole notion that we're going to create the gas police, that when you bring a off-road vehicle to a gas station, that we're going to ask the people at the gas station to figure out, are these people legal? Are they illegal? Or we're going to go the other extreme, which is throw the total baby out with the bathwater and say no gas to anybody that has an off-road vehicle. And we don't think that's fair to all the law-abiding people. For example, you could have one on a trailer, fully legal, you're on your way to wherever. Our residents should not be prevented from being able to purchase gas in that situation. Moreover, the easy way, if you were a lawbreaker, you just simply show up with the red gas can with no off-road vehicles. Nobody knows where the heck the gas is going. It could be for your snowblower, it could be for your lawnmower. So the people you're trying to get that would be the troublemakers, they're going to slip through the cracks very easily, and the honest people are going to be punished. And that's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to catch people that are bothering people, and the people that are law-abiding, we're not trying to make their life more difficult. So that's the logic behind where the ordinance committee came down on this. Pass 15G and defeat 15O, and we think it gets us where we need to be. Always open to listen to more down the road, but I think this gives us a good start on our way. So thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Puello.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank former Mayor Murphy for filing these. I think, just like Councilor Jourdain said, classic Mayor Murphy looking out for Ward 2. It's a real problem down there, and I think, as Councilor Jourdain said, I think G definitely addresses the issue. I'm disappointed about O. I wish we could have done that too. I think maybe we could have figured out a way to enforce that properly. I know we had a lot of good discussions on the committee. I think I'm going to be voting against recommending to deny it. I think it's a great order. I think it would have been a great part of the puzzle for the entire thing there to help combat that. And just for my progressive colleagues, I'd like to note, we're voting to fine a bunch of kids on motorcycles, but we're afraid to fine a couple gas stations, the big bad gas stations. So I thought that was interesting. Thank you.
Anyone further? No? So motion is to deny. Councilor Maldonado.
Thank you. So all I really want to say with this, so I agree with, Councilor Jourdain, Givner, and Rivera as far as not finding the whole gas thing. I'll be honest that voting to fine even illegal bikes on the road feels kind of dirty to me, because one of the reasons why I got elected, or one of the things I was doing in the campaign trail was, the alternative to punishing. What do? Where we continue punishing our own people, and what are the results of that? I know we had a finance committee yesterday meeting where police are doing overtime. And today, just today, we passed 2 different ordinances that gives them more work. So now they're dealing with illegal bikes. Now they're also fighting with snows. Like, at what point do we stop and we have to take a step back and reimagine and rethink, like, what is the best approach? Is it just punishing people for everything, or? And I don't have the answer to that. And I think that's just a question I would have put out to the body. Rethink punishing. Think of consequences, both positive and negative, to like positive behavior. And that's sort of really what I wanted to say here. You know, we can't just keep fining people. We can't just keep punishing people. We can't just keep saying you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. That's not what we should be doing as a society. We should be working with the people in the community. Like, so I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Mr. President, if I may.
Councilor, yep.
So for me, as a quote-unquote progressive candidate, or whatever you want to call it, the solution to trying to help or mitigate this issue is to actually, with the other communities, to try to find a space or identify a space for the dirt bikers to actually ride dirt bikes. If they're being sold in the stores, but you can't use them on the streets, and you can't technically use them in the woods because of preservation or whatnot here in the city, where can you use them? It's not like we can ban them from being sold. So I think for me, as a progressive quote-unquote candidate, is trying to, maybe I will file an order to work and collaborate with Springfield and Chicopee to see what we can do to try to build or find a space for these people to be able to ride and do their things legally, so that it's not an issue and it's not creating havoc amongst our communities in Ward 1 and 2, because it doesn't just happen in Ward 2. I grew up in Ward 1 and I witnessed it my whole life. I have friends that have died from it, from riding illegally. It does impact all the communities overall, but it's just, I kind of agree with Councilor Maldonado Velez when it comes to a punitive action, instead of trying to find solutions that can kind of try to help us build and grow as a community and as a region overall. I don't know if there are any dirt bike places locally that I know of for people to go ride legally. And if that's something that we can try to explore, that would be awesome. And it's just my 2 cents.
Okay. Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, I'm hearing some great ideas here. I think we had that issue with the skateboards. I was coming to meetings here. Kids used to be going up and down right behind City Hall here with the skateboards, and we find it out get a skateboard park, you know. And that's something that maybe we'll look into. I know something with dirt bikes. I mean, you need a lot of space. So working with Springfield and Chicopee, and I applaud Mayor Murphy, Councilor Murphy, for bringing these forward, because it has been an issue in Holyoke in every ward. And we've seen it in what happened in Springfield. We've seen it what happened nationally with these bikers, and they're actually corralling a car and beating people, actually. So it's important to take care of what can we do to make it better. And, the issue about the gas, and I'm sort of an idea that, maybe there is a way that we can do that. I saw that meeting that night, and Councilor Jordan made some great points. How do you differentiate, who's getting the gas? And how do you, make the people that are at a Pride or a gas station or a Cumberland Farms to say, hey, I can't give you that because I see your bike out there, and then they get in a conflict with somebody. So there's got to be some ways. But I think that the item of trying to find people, is the first step. But as Councilor Maldonado says, how can we keep on finding people? What can we do to make it better? There's got to be some consequences for breaking the law, but can we do something to make it so they can learn from it and they can do something, help the community in some way? But I go along, and I'm having a difficult time whether to vote with the no's or vote with the yes, because I think the gas thing was a great thing. The gas tank, stopping people from getting gas so they can't get it. But like, how do you regulate that? How do you say you can't do that? You can't get gas here because I see your dirt bike on the trailer or whatever, so.
Right. So,
Thank you.
Councilor Vacan.
Can I just make a point of clarification on the committee report? So I don't believe the intent of the ordinance was ever to be saying that a gas station shouldn't let somebody put gas in a gas container or a vehicle on a trailer. I think the intent was that if somebody's driving up with their little dirt bike, their HOV, da-da-da-da-da, and they're pumping gas, just say no. So I don't think the intent of the ordinance was to go as far as this discussion has gone, just as a point of information. Thank you.
One point, Jeffrey has told me there is an issue with the interpreters trying to zoom in and out, and something's happening there. Scott's working on it. Just to let people know at home as well as here, if it doesn't work, once again, it's being recorded and they will do the interpretation for after the meeting, just to make sure everyone understands that. So with that, anyone further on this? Seeing none, motion is to deny. All those in favor?
I think we need
You need a roll call for it? Because
Yeah.
there's, all right, we'll do a roll call. If you vote yes, you're voting to deny. So once again, yes is to deny, no is to vote for it.
Point of order, are we?
Yep.
Okay, so we're
on
just want to make
O.
sure.
You're on O.
we're
You know?
okay, Thank you.
15-0.
Oh,
Thank you.
So clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting to deny. It's a little backwards, but that's how it works.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern, Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
We're on O, Mr. President?
Yep.
That's no.
I. Rivera,
Yes.
J. Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
No.
Bacon,
No.
Anderson Burgos,
No.
Bartley,
No.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
as a fellow progressive, yes.
8 yeas, 5 nays.
So Kevin, help me with this one, because it's not an ordinance change, so it would be 7. You'd need 7, right?
Yeah, you only,
Yep, so
it
7.
needs,
You got
9 to pass, so anything
Yep. So, yep.
overwhelmingly was defeated,
It's denied. So, all right, it
Not too overwhelmingly.
was close. They're a little close. All right, so
That was a close vote.
Counselor Bacon, we're going to go to H and I, right?
Yes,
And then
sir.
from there, okay. So H, Committee on Ordinance would refer an order that the City of Holyoke look to adopt an ordinance similar to Springfield regarding recreation of highway vehicles. Recommend that it's complied with.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to receive and adopt the committee report.
Motion is receive, adopt, or discussion?
We discussed this in committee, and it was my recollection that we sent a home rule petition, which we amended in council chambers, taking out some of the language that we didn't like in the Springfield language. And so I saw this as sort of a partner order that had been filed at the same time.
Okay.
So with the maker's permission, I seemed to
Complied with,
be
yeah.
a reasonable way to go.
No, not a problem. So, motion that's been complied with. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 15I, Committee on Ordinance to refer to discuss downtown parking meters in terms of the amount of time allowed, price changes, and how we might increase the number of payment options available. Let's see here. Recommend that the order be referred to the mayor for the purpose of appointing a parking advisory board to make recommendations to the ordinance committee.
So the motion is to receive and adopt the committee report.
Motion is receive, adopt, or discussion. Counselor Bacon.
So right before the meeting, and as part of the meeting, we had the language where a couple of years ago, we had developed a parking advisory group that had never been activated. And as many of us that are here still know, we've been struggling with this issue now for years, trying to get it straightened out. So anyway, right before the meeting, Mayor Garcia did reach out to me to indicate that he was very interested in getting this advisory group going right away. And so with that in mind, it seemed the most efficient way to get something going sooner would be to refer it over to the mayor. And then when they come up with some specifics, if ordinances are needed, it can come back and we can take them up in committee. Thank you.
Anyone further? Counselor McGivern.
I think this is a good order, an important order to reestablish this committee. There's a lot of issues with downtown parking. At one time, this committee and the Chamber of Commerce membership was responsible for a very comprehensive plan throughout the both downtown areas, the Main Street and the High Maple Street areas. And the purpose was to make sure that we had enough parking for businesses, do our best to allow residents to have an option. and to, not do it hodgepodge where, and I don't want to make any examples, but if someone needs a drop-off in front of their store and there's a drop-off 2 stores down, it's unloading parking spaces are just for unloading, not for parking all day. So I think it's important that we get a commission going again to analyze what we're doing and to recommend to us what might be best, or to look at it in a different way. And also very important, downtown and parking in general has changed in business districts because of COVID. So many employees are working remote. The need for monthly passes is not as high of a demand as it used to be. We have 2 parking decks, one that's supposed to accommodate daily parking on Dwight Street that has not had daily parking for close to 7 years. 2 on Suffolk Street, which has a makeshift meter in front of it that only takes quarters. And if someone wants to come in and, they have a trial, or they are a jury member and they need to park for 6 hours, no one walks around with, $6 worth of quarters in their pocket. Our parking meters, at the last I heard, I forget the grand total of how many parking meter spaces we have, but there's close to 75 that are not operating. This is lost revenue for something that's very important. And more important, it's not just lost revenue, we're not accommodating the business owners who need the customers to come and feel comfortable, whether they're shopping in the retail stores, or they want to go to Fernandez or Pick's for lunch or for dinner. It's just not right. And we've heard the excuses. It's time to get a commission going and fix the problem.
Anyone further? Seeing none, motion is that this be referred over to the mayor for the purpose of appointing an advisory board to make recommendations to the ordinance committee and make a copy to DPW. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay, so now for the fun part.
All right, here we go.
And I want to thank the committee for their patience going into the distant past to clean out the jacket somewhat, and having mercy on Jeffrey. So the motion is to take up items 15J through N, and then 15P to 15 small p. For the purpose of giving them leave to withdraw. Almost every order that is listed here is from 2018 and 2019. Some have been done, some are refiled. There's a variety of reasons, but they're all very old, except for 1 or 2 that are there for other reasons. So the committee has looked at this. Hopefully you've all had an opportunity to look at them. Some of the orders are already in the jacket, more newly filed. And so that's house cleaning.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
Second the motion.
motion, suspend the rules, take up as a package, J through all the way down to
Mr.
the
President.
little p.
Except taking out 15O, because
O's already been done, yeah. O's gone.
Mr. President?
And the circumflux is still in there, so just in case. Question to the committee under the suspension rules. Do you want me to read these, or? do you want to
the other aspect was abbreviated reading,
Thank you.
please.
Here we go. Making sure. 15J, command ordinance, a petition for residents for a speed bump at Elmwood Ave. K is the petition for street vendor license. L is a handicap sign at 370 Maple Street. M is residents only parking space, Columbus Ave. N is sign be placed at both ends of Moreau Street for large trucks. P is for Article 2, Section 42-41, compensation for changes allowing stipend for fire commissioners. Q is City Council establish a school committee subcommittee to review options. R is for City Ordinance Charter 2, Article 2, Division 5, examine and update removal of residency requirements. T is for allow for the development of redevelopment properties in alignment with the following listed, and there's a bunch of listed. U is for no change in pay for elected officials. V is for speed bump on Bemis Road. That broke off there. W is for speed humps to be installed on Lower Westfield Road, Eagle Road, so on. X is for food vendors, permits by the State Board of Health. Y is for plastic bags, that the city adopted an ordinance regarding plastic bags. Z is for allowing the sale of marijuana products were sold, that's that. Symbol, we'll go with the symbol here. City develop a sign ordinance to allow for the possibility of billboards. Another symbol, backslash. City create an RC zone. Small b is the Committee on DGNR City Department review events leading up to problems for 62, 64 commercial. DPW install truck signs at the end of Bemis, that's 15C. 15D, DPW superintendent review the parking options for Hamden Beacon. E, ordinance allow change made for classification of compensation. Underscore, it looks like here, for 15 underscore, that's the city removed the loudspeaker permit authorized for the police department. 15 with a dot at the top. This is for the U.S. Census data tracking. A, small a, the Committee on Ordinance referred the zip cars. There's your circumflex. That's your Holyoke zoning for shopping district. Another symbol, ordinance for small cell tower installation. G, ordinance amended to Community Preservation Committee. H, Committee on Ordinance for South Holyoke. 15I, PR salary scheduled, Chapter 2, Code of Ordinances amended. J, Committee on Ordinance to refer an order for Supervisors Union. K, amend the noise ordinance and reduce the increased amount for necessary vehicle noise. 15L, it looks like City Council amend the ordinances for snow away, fire hydrants, catch basins. 15M, City Council amend the ordinance for a study to cost for benefits. N, Committee on Ordinance do a comprehensive review of the city sign ordinance alongside technical support and feedback. F, the Committee on Ordinance will refer to an order for most recent changes to the sign ordinance be rescinded. O, the City of Holyoke consider remaining the portion of Chapin Street. And then P, we're at the end. This is the wage theft ordinance. All of those are to give leave to withdraw. Any discussion?
Mr. President?
Yep.
I just have a couple questions about some of the orders in here through, I guess, to the chair.
Sure.
The first one is 15P, the last one. I know that's the wage theft ordinance. That's something that was referred back to committee. Is that the one that was referred back to committee, or is there still an order in the jacket? Just wanted to-
So through the president, there is a current order that was just referred back to committee from the council at the last meeting.
It's the older version.
Yeah, there's
I believe.
sometimes many versions because we're going back so many years.
And then
But
the
anyway.
Yeah, and then the second one, same question with 15 backslash and 15 circumflex. Is that
Hang on.
So this is where the symbols start.
Can you go for the content?
They're the RC retail center zoning.
Okay, so those came to council in December and were defeated.
Okay. And then the one final question to Jeffrey. So, is the jacket updated essentially? Simple question. So I can go in there and see like what's on there right now, or yeah.
So, as it's approved that these are leave to withdraw, I delete them from the drive.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right, so with that, for that package, to give leave to withdraw, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you to the committee for their patience and diligence in going through all of this.
Great job, great job. Now we're off to finance. 16A, Committee on Finance refer in order that the Historic Commission letter regarding historic buildings awaiting disposition.
Make a motion to receive, adopt a committee report to refer to the Committee on Ordinance.
Motion is receive, adopt, to refer to ordinance. Under discussion, Councilor McGivern.
Thank you. It was brought to my attention by our administrative assistant that this goes hand in hand with a ordinance change that's being worked on by the ordinance committee. And I thought we put a copy of this letter in finance, which is fine, but he just feels that the ordinance committee may want this, so to make it correct, we'd just like to refer it to ordinance. We kept a copy for ourselves, but.
So motion is receive, send to ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? B, Committee on Finance referred for Mass General Law 44, Section 53A. Council hereby accept the provisions of the Patrick Leahy Bulletproof Vest for $42,000 with a match of 21. Recommend it's waiting disposition.
The committee did meet last night. I apologize, Mr. President. It was the only available night, so I apologize. I don't like to meet the night before a meeting. But the committee does recommend that we adopt this. I would make the motion to receive, pass the first reading.
A motion to receive, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had Chief Pratt and Lieutenant Hart before us. Mayor Garcia has been at every finance committee meeting so far, and it's been a delight to work with him because he does have some good knowledge in the area of finance, but also because he's there so we can ask questions. But we learned on this one, we learned through Lieutenant Hart. This is a second time, I guess, we received this type of grant. It's $42,000 with a $21,000 match. If the council agrees to accept the grant, this would buy 35 bulletproof vests for the police department. Some good questions were asked last night. We learned that these vests have, this particular brand, has a 5-year warranty. Bulletproof vests don't last forever. Our police officers do wear them on a regular basis. We also learned, and I can attest to this, I told the committee, is one size doesn't fit all. And I have to wear one occasionally for my job as a probation officer. And the last vest I received, I had to get fitted 3 times. Councilor Jardine asked why, and I refused to answer that question. But that's okay. It's important, in that the police officers are protected. So the committee does. The $21,000 we're going to talk about later is part of item number 7, transfer, which is a multiple transfer, which makes sense. But for accepting it, and if we do approve the $21,000 transfer, the committee recommends that we do so.
All right, so motion is receive, adopt, pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion to pass the
Second.
second reading. The clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for 16B.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Rumboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
Wright Rivera,
Yes.
Jay Rivera,
Yes.
Tommen,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley, Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
12 yeas.
With your vote, you approve 16B. 16C, Committee on Finance hereby accept the revisions of the fiscal year 2022 Shannon Grant, which would be $556,355.26. There is no match. Motion would be to receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, we spoke with Lieutenant Hart, who is in the police department, the go-to person for grants. Chief Pratt is well-versed in the grants and the importance of it. This is an annual grant. 2 key words in the grant is community and safety initiative. When you say community, this grant comes in $556,355.26 Lieutenant Hart told us is one of the second highest annual portions we've had in many years. But when you break it down, the community part goes like this. The police department gets $161,976. Our police department and almost every of the rest of the breakdown I will give to the council is about gang prevention, about working with preventing gang activity, about working with reestablishing gang activity and looking to help out youth, looking to get them out of things that might bring them into gang activity by doing positive things. And this is the way the breakdown goes. Mass hire for purpose of attracting and trying to get youth into good jobs, especially seasonal jobs for our younger youth members, $88,773. The Holyoke Boys and Girls Club, which is the lead agency, Eileen Kavanaugh takes along with all of the outside agencies the initiative to make sure that the grants are documented and paid and used accordingly to the way that they are given to the from the state. Holyoke Boys and Girls Club, $153,966. The Chicopee Boys and Girls Club gets $81,386. Holyoke High School, $23,800. Holyoke Community College, $23,078. The Sheriff's Department, $4,474. And there's one more for $4,000, and anybody can help me out because I cannot read my writing on this one. But if you get the point, is the city acts as the funneling entity to bring the grant money through. I believe it was Councilor Jordan asked a good question, is what liability and responsibility do we have to these outside agencies? And that's where the Lieutenant Hart did point out that they work closely with Eileen Kavanaugh, the Holyoke Boys and Girls Club, to monitor all the monies that are spent. We also had our auditor president with us. As many of us know, we've had some issues in the recent past, and it's actually issues that go back more than the recent past, but have been brought to the attention by our outside auditor that there are grants, some for multiple years, that have remained in deficit at the end of the fiscal year. That's a big no-no with the state. It's a big no-no with the Department of Local Services, formerly Department of Revenue, and we've been penalized in terms of free cash recently. In this particular grant, our auditor did said that we are current with this grant. We are current with the most recent Shannon grant that the police department used over the last fiscal year. The committee, under all the circumstances and the good work that is done by this grant, the committee recommends that we receive, adopt, and set up the necessary methods and appropriation for the accounting of the receipts and expenditures.
Anyone? Questions? No? A motion is passed the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. The clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the Shannon grant.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
I. Rivera,
Yes.
J. Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley, Givner, Jordan.
Yes.
12 yeas.
With your vote, you approve that one?
Mr. President, if I could, 16D, E, F, and G actually remained in finance. It was tabled for future meetings. We had a long meeting on the middle school bond. We made some great progress. We have one more request, which I believe we're going to be able to honor next Monday night, which is our next Finance Committee meeting, and that's to have our bond counsel, Senator McNary, in to answer questions on the table that we're receiving this evening in terms of our debt obligations. But we made some good progress last night, but these items remained on the table.
All right, so next would be 16H, which is Community and Finance. It was referred a request of $18,881.72 from Pay Investigator to National Service Officer, and that is motion to be receive, adopt, pass the first reading.
Actually, Mr. President, on this item, it's going to be replaced a little bit down the agenda here.
Okay.
We're asking that it be, instead of denying it, we're just asking to return it to the auditor for accounting purposes.
So return.
Auditor.
It was a
Which is
Scribner
our-
error on the amount that was being transferred.
Wow, that's Scribner. That's coming up a lot. All right, so motion is to refer back to the auditor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? 16I. Was this to pass or?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor?
Yes,
Yes, Your Honor.
It was
We
a
just
long
gave you a
day,
promotion.
sorry.
So 16I, Committee on Finance would refer that there hereby be appropriated $185,500 from various line items to other various line items. Motion be receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Under discussion, Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. The chief told us, and this is something for to note, and this goes both ways, unfortunately. When the both in the police and fire department budgets, when the chiefs they look at their rosters and they note that there are individuals who are of retirement age, and meaning that they actually know not just the age, but their retirement package is at to a point where if they continue to work, they're actually paying money, into retirement that they're not going to get back. So they budget for this on an annual basis. It's come to the chief's attention, it's February now, that there are individuals who are not going to retire, therefore creating a surplus in these line items of sick time buyback, time owed buyback, and vacation buyback. After we got through where the money was coming from, he quickly, and always comes prepared, went through each of the line items as to why he's looking for additional monies. If I can go through quickly, be glad to answer any questions. Supplies ammo is the second one, is $14,500. We are now facing, not just because of the Police Reform Act, but because of a number of things that have happened on the state level, that our officers have to be certified twice a year for at a firing range for their certification of being allowed to handle a firearm. Because of that, that's an increase in the amount of ammo that is used at the firing range. The data maintenance is just some expenditures that were unforeseen for software and different licenses and stuff that have to be purchased. The repair and maintenance motor vehicle, $20,000. We had an interesting discussion. It goes along with motor vehicle fuel kind of and supplies. We authorized the expenditure for 6 new vehicles. We try to purchase just historically X amount of vehicles every year. Our police vehicles are run 24/7. I mean, buying a new vehicle, think about using your car 24 hours a day, how many miles you would put on a car very quickly under all circumstances, both seasonal weather and so forth. Unfortunately, the 6 new vehicles are delayed. They should be on the road now, but the 6 ones that were purchased are delayed. He talked about a number of things that are going on, including, I think we've all seen it on national news, that microchip that is in short supply, and everybody's looking for it, which is a big part of newer motor vehicles in terms of the computer part of it itself. He did talk about there are X amount of 2020 vehicles that are still on the road. We do have a mechanic at the DPW, but the DPW lost a mechanic, so there's a little bit more outsourcing of fixing these police cruisers when they're in need. And he's just juggling and trying to move money around to get through the rest of the fiscal year when it comes to motor vehicles. Gas fuel, we all know, has gone up. The amount per gallon is changed, and he's initiating enough money to hopefully, in this item, he said that will get him through the rest of the fiscal year. There are some other things that he brought to our attention. Besides that delay in the chip, the 2020 vehicles and the parts, there's also some 2017 vehicles don't go hand in hand in terms of a lot of times, Councilor Anderson Burgos asked a question about do we trade these vehicles back in, and the chief answered, what is the current situation is we do not. if they're not, once they're in the graveyard, they're used for parts. And in the graveyard means that they can't limp around anywhere out in the streets. They do a good job, I think, in terms of what we talked about last year in the purchasing of new vehicles. Office supplies was the one, not question mark, but it was, the chief said that the budget was, and we looked at it, we didn't see it, but it looked like it might have had taken a little bit of a cut. But he said that there's a number of supplies that the cost of the supplies have gone up. He pointed out toner as one of them, that it's the price to purchase toner is gone up significantly. But he said it's not just toner that's causing him a need in that that particular line item. I'm sure I missed a couple of things, but after speaking to the chief on this for a good 20 minutes, the committee recommends that we vote to adopt the transfer.
Any questions?
If I may, Mr. President. So I have a couple questions. Well, I mean, you answered a lot and you gave a brief, good explanation, and I asked some of the questions last night. I guess I'm going to state what I'm stating just to state why I'm going to vote no with regards to the particular matter right here. For me, with regards to some of it is just there is the supplies, the office supplies. I'm concerned about $20,000 from February to June. That's about 4 months. $20,000 is a lot of money for supplies for 4 months. That's just my personal opinion. I know working at the schools, I know it's a different line item, but teachers don't have many supplies themselves, and they buy a lot of stuff themselves out of pocket. So for me, it's there's a little bit of a sticking point there. As education and training, I'm not against none of the money with regards to that. To me, it's about when I look at it, I see that there's $185,000 and $500,000 surplus, and then they're requesting the same amount, $185,500 dollars, and I don't know. I kind of feel like couldn't save us $1. Like couldn't give back $1, or am I misunderstanding? If there's extra money that's surplus, does it go back, or does it get considered as free cash at the end of the fiscal year?
Goes back in the general fund.
Right, goes back to the general fund. So I guess for me, it's a little difficult, right? When we already granted you funds for the year, and then you have like 3 or 4 months left, and you'll be asking us again in June or July-ish for some large amount of money. I don't know. The numbers don't add up to me. Like, I'm okay with giving them some of the money for some of this stuff, but at the same time, I don't think it has to be the whole $185,500. That's just for me.
Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, and I do appreciate Councilor Rivera did ask and point out some of these things last night. If it helps, and Councilor Jordan I was surprised that all the new councilors have not, if I think I'm correct, not received a copy of the printed budget. So we asked the auditor, and she will get on that right away to get everybody a copy of the printed budget. It's kind of hard to get into it until you get through your first budget cycle when come May when we receive the mayor's new budget proposal. If you look in the budget, and if we went through each of these line items, you'll find that at the time this budget was filed by Councilor Murphy. Mayor Murphy at the time, there were line items that he cut in kind of that from the proposal of the department head. I don't think office. The chief thought the office supplies was one, but we looked at that and said it wasn't. But there are other cuts in here. There are some cuts in here that the city council reduced. And when we reduce, we don't have to reduce the entire line item, but we might tell them, hey, you don't need to get this much in education and training. What's going on in the police department, and we're going to see that in another item coming up, is during the course of this year, the Reform Act puts some tough and good initiatives on police departments across Massachusetts, that they have to do things a little bit different, and part of that is training. So there's additional, education, training, certifications that police officers now must go through. He also wasn't able to use reserves. They now reversed that, knowing that reserves are especially in Holyoke, are an important part of the police department. Most reserves want to become permanent, but most reserves are willing to work just the same way as a permanent police officer works. They're in training now, in full training, which in the past they had an initial training that allowed them to go out in the street, and once they became permanent, they went to the academy and became full-fledged officers. So a lot of these costs are related to changes that happened after the budget was filed by Mayor Murphy and adopted by this body. I can see some points. Unfortunately, when these things come in as a package, we have to vote any appropriation transfer or any appropriation up or down. We cannot amend it or go line, except during the budget, obviously, but budget period. But during that 45-day period, we cannot change these one by one. I think overall, the chief of police is managing his budget. The $185,000, became surplus. It wasn't, something that he could predict with, the crystal ball. Councilor Rivera, I don't know, I would have asked this last night, there could still be a surplus in sick buyback, time old, and vacation. He just said he identified this amount that he needs in these other line items because there's projected deficits before the end of the year. There's some deficits right now that he's headed towards. If he doesn't get the money, he's not going to be able to make it. He's not going to make it much further with the gas line item, which I think is very important. So it's good observation, but we can get you a better answer that it's not, to me, it's not, that there just happens to be $185,000, so I want to move it over here. There's a need, and he found the $185,000, so he wants to move it over there. I know it's semantics, I guess, but that's the way I read it.
Councilor Rivera.
Yeah, for me being a progressive, right, this is kind of a conservative standpoint, right?
I like it.
But like, I guess, I guess, I kind of wish if they could come back and bring some of the numbers back that are a little bit lower, so that way some of it could go back to the general fund, right, at the end of the year. Because the way I see it in my experience working in nonprofits, I worked for that Shannon grant for like 3 years. When I first came out of prison, it actually gave me a chance to work with the kids and grow myself as an individual. And I see if the budget, if there's $100,000 free cash, right, or free that you're going to possibly send back, the idea is to spend the whole $100,000, because if you send something back next year, you're not going to get the same amount back, right? I see that and I get that, and that's what I'm kind of trying to look out for in a sense, right? So if you say that you need the 185, and then come the next fiscal year, you're going to ask for the larger number because you got the larger number. Like Kevin said in the meeting, this is not, the budget was like 800 and something thousand, right? And it's going to go up to almost $1 million something. It's like a 15%, if I'm correct, right? Increase. Thank you for all the numbers, because I'm not that good yet, but I can use them though. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's like that's something that when they come back to the table come July, they're going to ask for that 1 point whatever million, and it's. I guess for me, it's trying to say, like, we'll help you. It's not a problem. I can help you with whatever you need. But at the same time, that the consideration for the city and our at the end, our general budget at the end of the year would be cool too. At the same time, that's just my personal opinion.
Councilor Vacan, then.
Oh, I'm all set,
okay.
thanks. The only point I would make is that they're working within the budget and making transfers within. They're not exceeding their budget. Thank you.
Councilor Jordan.
Yeah, I thought Councilor Rivera asked a lot of really good questions, and there were 3 of these line items that there's definitely room in here if you wanted to vote no. In the end, I gave it to him. Like, for example, the where the money's coming from is not a problem. What ultimately happened is they made some projections as to how many people would retire. And at the end of the day, they did not have as many people retire. So where the 185 is coming from, that's certainly not a problem. That's a guess. Where it's going, three of them did go over the run rate for the prior 2 years. Data maintenance, education and training, and office supplies. Councilor Rivera mentioned 2 of those already. They, for example, the 2-year run rate on education and training was 52,000. The council budgeted 42, so that's short by 10. They made a request for 30. You could certainly say 20 more over the run rate. Data maintenance, the run rate was 82, budgeted at the council at 72. So that's a shortage of 10. They requested 36. Office supplies, run rate was 32. Budgeted by the council at 22, which is 10 under, but they're requesting 20. So those 3 were, but I'm told they're going to only spend that if needed, and that the mayor was there, and he said they're going to keep an eye on it. The chief said if there is overage, they would not spend it and turn it back. Let's see if that shakes out to be true. So I'm going to trust but verify on this one, and if they're just running up the cost. But it is notable, the run rate was around $850 for expenses the last 2 years. The council kind of came down at that. If this is too high, the spending, they did take it from their salary lines, but it's definitely something we have to keep an eye on going forward. And I thought, in balance, it was a couple of these areas. I'm going to vote yes on this for this one and see where they go with it, but I will be keeping an eye on it.
Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, thank you. And Councilor Jordan and Councilor Rivera, very good points on this. And that's something we have to do during the budget time. And a lot of times we look at this, the mayor, they ask for so much, the mayor cuts. Sometimes the councilor cuts even more. And a couple of these were cut, not significantly, but we have to look at the trend too, as Councilor Jordan. What's the rate? What is the last 2 years? Did they spend 30,000? Now they're spending 50. And I think the chief got the message last night. And with the mayor here last night, he really looks, answered a couple questions for us, and maybe there's some things they can do as far as supplies and get everybody together on the same, a few different apartments where they pool their supplies together to save some money. And some of this is, like the chief said, from the reform bill that they have to have more training, they have to qualify twice a year. Some of the costs go up, but I think it's important that we see this, and I just told the chief and the mayor, it was lucky that they did make a error in the projections of retirements, because where would that money come from if there wasn't, if they had the full 6 retirements, let's say, instead of 3. So, but I think during the budget time, that's a time where we have to look at, where can we cut? And if we cut a little bit too much, now they come back, then we can ask them these questions. Why do you need this another 20,000 for the supply or for the ammunition? So that's something that we do, and the budget is important. That's one of our biggest duties is to try to look at the budget and how are we going to live within our means. And it's not always easy, and a lot of times the different departments come back, and years past we had a lot of free cash to work with. Now everybody has to work within their budget and their department to transfer funds. So it's important to be able to transfer funds within their own line items to pay for these bills.
Seeing no one, Councilor McGivern.
Just 2 quick things.
Make a motion to give the chairman permission to speak for a 3rd time.
I'll second that.
Well, he answered the question on 1, so it's technically speaking for the 2nd time.
I thought the committee report didn't count for those 2.
Kevin used that one time 2 meetings ago, so I'm using it back. Councilor McGivern.
Real quick, this is, one is just to distinguish between office supplies and what's going on with motor vehicle supplies. The one thing I did forget on motor vehicle supplies is what the lieutenant and chief said is, this is to do on the new cruisers coming in, is an extended warranty. So that some of these repairs that they're running into because of what's going on is hopefully going to be diminished and not be as bad as what we're looking at here. And I think that's progressive, looking at a way to spend money, to save money. The second thing is, the mayor, our chief financial officer, is endorsing, asking us to transfer this. And not only was he with us last night, but he said something which usually a new mayor doesn't understand. And it took me probably 6 or 7 years to understand is municipal finances. Look at your own budget at home, but municipal finances is a moving target throughout the year. And Councilor Bacon said it correctly is, we have a department head who's trying to live within his budget. Usually this time of year, we got department heads saying, hey, you got $1 million, $2 million in free cash. I want more. We got a department head saying, I can do it, but I got to start juggling to do it correctly.
So here, motion would be to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. Clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for this transfer.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
Ivy Vera,
No.
J.B. Vera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner. Yes. Jordan.
Yes.
12 yeas, 1 nay.
With your vote, you approve that one. 16J, Community on Finance is hereby referred a transfer of $22,145.10 from pay investigator to pay service officer. Motion to be this one we're
Motion
acting on?
the committee recommends to adopt. Motion
All
to
right.
pass the first
All right.
reading.
Motion
Second.
to receive, adopt, pass first reading. Councilor McGivern.
This is the replacement order for the item that we referred back to the auditor. The auditor said that the issue was the amount in the line item that's being transferred, and which goes hand in hand with the reasons of the transfer. But this is the correct amount that would take the money out of pay investigator. This is the Veterans Affairs Department. Jesus Pereira was with us, and put it into pay national service officer. This is not a new position. We've gone over this over the years. It's not always a funded position for different reasons. The Veterans Affairs Department, one of their big responsibilities is federal money, which is, comes in from the federal VA through the state into any local community that have veterans that apply for benefits, cash benefits that they have coming to them. The Veterans Affairs, what they do is they scrutinize the applications, they make sure that they're legit, they investigate, if necessary, the standing status of the veteran, that they do qualify, and then they award the benefit to the individual veterans, who means they served in some type of active duty for this country. Jesus is a certified national service officer. He has no one else in the office besides himself. It is not his responsibility as a director is far more encompassing than just doing what the pay service officer does. So he's looking to put a person in this position for the rest of the year. We asked the mayor a question to make sure that we know what's going to, or not make sure, but make sure that we need by budget time an answer is, are we refilling this position and not backfilling the pay investigator, which would increase the budget for next year. And at this moment in time, the auditor verified it for us. There would not be any money left in the pay investigator, so that the director cannot fill that position for this year. If he wishes to fill it, he'd have to get the mayor to agree to it in the budget for next year, which would also come back to us for our scrutiny. So the committee thinks it makes sense that we look for the certified pay national service officer to take on this very important responsibility in the office.
Anyone further? Seeing none, motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion to pass the second reading. Clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfer.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
Ivy Vera,
Yes.
J.B. Vera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner. Yes. Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous.
For your vote, you approve that one. 16K, Committee on Finance referred $205,000 from Lieutenant Patrolman E911 Dispatch to reserves and overtime. Motion be received,
Motion,
adopt,
we're
pass.
recommending adoption. Motion, yes, to pass first reading.
Our
Second.
discussion, Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. The chief, Mayor Garcia, we're present, of course, for this. And I thank Mayor Garcia because he recognizes something that, has been an issue, with the city council over recent years. It deals with grants and grants that are reimbursed, and without getting into a very long explanation, what we found and what was happening was that we receive, especially in our larger departments, but especially police and fire, a lot of grants that are purposed for different functions. Dispatchers, E911, paying for certain salaries of patrolmen, paying for salaries of officers. These grants are what we call reimbursement grants, and what that means is we have to, and the auditor verified this, we have to at budget time fully fund each of these individuals if we so choose to have the amount of individuals in these line items. And when we do so, we receive grants throughout the year. Shannon Grant is one, but there are others that pay for those salaries. So what happens is during the course of the year, the department head can identify what the surplus is. Now, up until about 5 years ago, this took place, and the department head was able to transfer the money from one personnel line item into another. For example, he could take in the $70,000 from E911 dispatchers that's been paid for by a grant and transfer it into overtime without coming back to the city council. We not that we want to macro manage any department, but we thought that these amounts make it unfair that we can be told, but we cannot have a say at the beginning of the year. Grants are great, don't get me wrong, but we'd like to see what's going on in the middle of the year and be able to weigh in on it again. So here goes. The $30,000 has been reimbursed. That money is by the chief and by the auditor deemed at this point surplus. There's still plenty of money with the grant that's paying for some of the lieutenant's salaries. These are multiple grants according to Lieutenant Hart, multiple grants being for different responsibilities and performances of the lieutenants that the grants are used, and therefore during certain pay periods money becomes surplus in the line item. The patrolman surplus is a little different. Our ordinance is currently 92, I believe. Budgeted, Mayor Murphy, budgeted for 86, but we're right down right now to patrol officers down to 76. That creates a surplus as you go along. There are reserves that are going to be eventually made permanent, and they'll get closer to the 86 before the year's out. But right now, regardless, the $105,000 is not needed to get us through, even with 10 new officers coming on board through the rest of the year. Dispatchers, we get some very hefty and good grants to pay for dispatchers, and Lieutenant Hart pointed out those grants are also for the to pay for what happens in the room, the dispatch room, in terms of equipment and all kinds of stuff. Those grants have been scrutinized and are being used accordingly. They will be reported at the end of the year, and the auditor and the city council will be able to review to make sure that that's exactly what happened. But that's created a salary surplus for dispatchers. Thus, the $205,000 is being used by grants, and we are abiding by state mass municipal finance law that we funded these positions. Now we're being reimbursed. Can we just put the money anywhere? You got to be careful with that. It's still got to be the purpose of what the grants are. The chief told us earlier, the reserves went from where we couldn't use them, now we can use them, which I think is a good thing. We have 22 reserves, 10 are being trained or are about to be finishing that training that we talked about earlier. And the $30,000 is reserves are paid a per diem for hours worked. They can do, once they're trained now under the Reform Act, they can do anything a patrol officer does. And the supplementing of whether a patrol officer is on vacation, out sick, or the vacancy, is what the chief can now use, use the reserves for. Overtime, we cut overtime. The Mayor Murphy did not go along with the chief's request at the beginning of the budget. We cut it even more. We do so because we believe that we want to monitor, or I think I can speak for some veteran counselors, that we just want to monitor overtime to know that it's properly spent. And this particular overtime is for what happens in day-to-day operations of police work, to make sure that we have those cruisers, those patrol beats, and everybody out there accordingly in our neighborhoods, especially where it's needed. We, at one time, were up to $42,000 per pay period of overtime. About 2 years ago, it was reduced after constant discussion with the chief to $38,000. He's running at about $35,000. This has been consistent the last two times we've had him in, about $35,000 per pay period to keep the patrols accordingly to all of our neighborhoods. And we think that, again, the chief is working within his budget. We thank him for the use of grants, and we thank him for trying to balance his budget to get through the rest of the fiscal year, and recommend we adopt this transfer.
Anyone for Councilor Jordan?
Right. Also going to vote in favor of this, but there's one thing I do think that we should just keep our eye on with this, and it is relative to how the grants and the funding is handled. It made sense to me that we have to fully fund the positions in the budget, because you can't assume that you're going to get these grants. But when they do come, what I'm finding interesting is we're basically split paying the positions. What I mean is, so much is paid out of the city money, because the position is funded at 100% in the salary line item. And then what's happening is a portion of that is then being paid by the grants. And the money is going back into, effectively, that's a subsidy to the police department, which is good. But what it's causing is these large salary surpluses in those lines. I think we're going to have to examine where the grant money is coming to the city. For example, there could be a way that we could spend the money out of the salary line and just have the reimbursement go directly into the general fund at the end of the year as free cash. One of my concerns is, otherwise, what it's doing is it's creating these artificial surpluses in each of these salary lines, because basically what they're doing is the position was fully funded, but they're only spending it down at a portion because a portion is being paid by the grants. That makes this money then available to be transferred to other uses. You see, that we better keep an eye on, because that's artificially inflating the police budget beyond what we appropriated, and then those monies get transferred either to expenses or overtime or all these other things. And whereas it seems to me the best approach would be, okay, if we budget it at 100%, we spend and we pay the salaries out of the salary lines, and then at the end we collect whatever revenues we're entitled to under grants, and those go to free cash, and then the council will appropriate those the next fiscal year. And of course, as we have certified free cash, each year it'll become a very seamless thing. It's maybe not so in the first year because now we're without free cash, but eventually this will go into our annual free cash reserves. I think from a housekeeping perspective, that's the best approach, and I think we're going to need to have a conversation with the auditor to see if we can have a better accounting of this in the future. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Bacon.
So the only comment I wanted to make was that I understand what Councilor Jourdain is saying. I just think we need to be careful that however we do the accounting, we show that the grant money was used for the purpose of the grant.
Of course.
So I think it would be a bit circuitous, because you're going to have to take it in and then account for it. But I know what you're saying for the side-by-side. The encouraging thing from the big picture that I heard from the chief is that I think he's getting closer to filling the budgeted positions than we have historically seen in the department. So if he's able to accomplish that, I'm a little bit warm on spending more on training, because I think if we have a fuller complement of filled positions, it will allow for better control of overtime, which I think he's done a pretty darn good job of in some unusual circumstances. Although with 10 people in training, he's probably going to have more till they get out. But that said, it does look like he is paying a lot of attention to trying to bring the complement up to keep the overtime down. So I get how the money is moved when the positions are open. It almost seems like a function of the budget, in that when we come into budget season, we can almost take the projected grant money and line it up on the budget and kind of know what transfers they'll be coming in for. But I think it would be useful to look at those projections so we can kind of be anticipatory for what will come and notice if it's different. But the only other point I wanted to make is that I did meet with our new chief, and I encourage all my fellow new counselors in particular to meet with him, because they do have a complex department, and he was very forthcoming if you have particular questions or things you want to know about. And I just found him to be generous with his time and information. So I would encourage any of you who haven't had the chance yet to take advantage of it. Thank you.
Counselor Bartley.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on a couple of previous comments. I think there was a lot of good sense that was made here. I'm just want to talk in practical terms. For us to monitor this, unless you have become a full-time city councilor with oodles of time to comb over budget books, it's pretty hard. But I think Kevin's onto something here, and which is to say, there can be a mechanism that the city council can do to empower the city auditor, that on some kind of percentage, whether it's dollar for dollar or 50 cents per dollar they're receiving grant money, that the auditor knows receive, that upon receipt of the grant money. So instead of us monitoring this, which we know is virtually impossible, at least in my case, but I'm going to suggest it's probably not too practical for anyone else in this room. So empower the auditor on some kind of a percentage to, once the grant is received and it goes to the line, so yes, of course, the grant's going to be used for the intended purpose, that the auditor can, through the mayor, make a financial transfer from the department's budget back to the general fund. For example, on the lieutenants, if we know we've got X tens of thousands of dollars in Shannon grants or whatever they are, and we want to encourage to start. What's Mr. Hart?
Lieutenant Hart.
If we want to encourage Lieutenant Hart, which I obviously do, we love grants, although as a finance chair was right to allude to, look at what happened with the grants the last 3 fiscal years. What a disaster. Millions of dollars in free cash gone. To fund those deficits from the so-called grants. But if there was a mechanism that allowed the auditor, upon receipt of a grant, to pull back that money in consultation, of course, with the mayor, can't initiate it anywhere but the mayor. But let us not forget, the auditor is our appointee. So if the mayor is bucking this, then I would hope that we would hear from the auditor relative to this. But perhaps there's a way we can generate something to that effect. I don't know if other municipalities do it. You hate to reinvent the wheel, but it wouldn't surprise me that other municipalities they're like us on a tight budget have a formal procedure, and perhaps there's something that the auditor, other municipalities, and the law department could perhaps consider as a proposal for us to entertain. Now, I don't want to single out any particular department, but I am going to make one other observation just on the prior order, 2 prior orders, Mr. President, if I may. Look,
when we have a transfer across personnel to expenses and expenses personnel, that ain't the way it's supposed to work. So I'm specifically referring to 16I. Obviously, I voted for that, and the majority of us did, but it ain't supposed to happen that way when it goes from personnel to expense and expense back to personnel. We don't do that. Department heads aren't supposed to do that. They're told not to do that, and that's poor budgeting and that's poor planning. Now, we're all new, we have new department heads and new mayor, so I voted for it just for that. So I just want to make that point clear, that I hope not to see that kind of a transfer put before me again, because I'm not going to vote for it anymore on that. In fact, I voted against these types of transfers multiple times, but I've been a little bit off balance tonight for other reasons, and so I came in late to this order. But I still would have voted for it. It makes sense for now, but I hope that doesn't happen anymore, and I hope we don't see these kinds of financial transfers proposed, because that's not how we do it. Thank you.
Councilor Jordan.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one point, and I'm so glad that Councilor Bartley made that, because he's really spot on, especially on this point about one of the other alternatives besides letting this go to free cash, these grant funds, as we have. Okay, so now, like, for example, this order came in, put in the name of Councilor McGivern, January 18th, 2022. So we're halfway through the fiscal year, and they're saying we have 30,000 extra in the lieutenant line. We have 105,000 extra in the patrolman line, and we have 70,000 extra in the E911 line. Theoretically, that transfer should either be running to the stabilization fund until the council and the mayor decide what they want to spend it on something else, or it could go to interest on short-term debt, which has been used as a sort of holding tank for cash in the past. There's a lot, you could transfer the money out of the department, because what they're telling you is they don't need it for that purpose anymore, right? They're saying these are surpluses, that you appropriated all these monies, and we got grants to fund all that money now. So we don't need that anymore. So at periodic points during the year, we could make transfers out. That's another approach. So anyways, we'll get into that conversation. I'm going to file an order on this to kind of go through how we manage these, if there's a new approach. Thank you.
Councilor Rivera and Councilor Brown.
So, yeah, thank you, Mr. President. A lot of the points I wanted to make, Mr. Jordan kind of already made with regards to the grants and the money, how they're kind of being transferred and reallocated in a sense. But for me and my understanding, and like I worked for nonprofits for a long time, so it's like I understand, yes, we have to fund the position so that we can apply for the grant, so that first you have to apply so that you can apply for the grant, and if you don't get the grant, you still can guarantee the position to the person and we can still pay them. But then to me, it becomes like if you are funding $50,000 for a particular individual, technically we're saving the department $50,000 that we kind of like appropriated to them to pay that particular individual. So the question to me becomes, why do they get to reallocate it? Why can't it just go back to the general fund at the end of the year? Like we're giving you the extra money so that you could apply to get this extra money, so it could save funds for the city overall. And if we're saving funds for the city overall, then it should go back to the general funds and allow for the mayor or whoever to reallocate the funds as they see fit. That's kind of the thing. So in a sense, this goes back to what I was saying before. You see that you got an extra 185,000 and you put in a request for the same exact 100, but here it's 205, and the request they're putting in is exactly 205. So to me, it comes down to like, yes, you're doing your job and you represent the police department, you're doing the best you can and all the other stuff, but you got to kind of try to like save some money for the city taxpayers too, in any way you can. And that's where I'm at with it, in a sense. Thank you.
Councilor Bartley. Is your mic on, Councilor?
Another example, under 150, why you should have free cash. So we've had councilors here in the past say, well, we don't need free, what? Of course you need free cash. Like, oh no, it's a great form of budgeting. If we don't have any free cash, that must mean we're doing everything perfect. No, quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. So this is why you want to have conservative, and I just use that very broadly, approach when we do the budgets, when we go through the budget items, is not to be mean, is to say just to be prudent as we go along slowly, so when you get halfway through the year and now beyond that, you have free cash reserves, so you can take a transfer, appropriation from free cash proposed by the mayor and do it this way, instead of shuffling monies around in a budget. So, just a thought. Thank you.
Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. The only point I'll make, I'm one for fiscal accountability within a budget, but if we are going to hold each line in the budget to the budgeted line, and we're going to return excesses to free cash, then we need to fund the overtime fully also. Because every year we cut the overtime, and we know they're going to have to come back with the transfers, and that's what they use the excess in the personnel lines for. So I'm just making that as a point, because if they're not coming in transferring the money, then they're going to be coming in for the free cash that they gave back if we've cut the overtime, assuming we've vetted the overtime and the argument that they're making for it holds up and the history of it holds up, of course, having said those things. And we have to either be consistent one way or another way, but we can't do half and half from my perspective. But that's a bigger discussion for later.
Before I go to Councilor McGivern, I know the mayor has joined in and raised his hand, and I know some people are raising questions. Did you want him to answer the questions, or?
Motion.
We had any questions?
Okay.
I think we're making all comments here.
Okay.
You know?
I'm just making sure, because
Yeah.
you'd have to
And we're
suspend
not
the
a-
rules throughout that. Okay.
Yeah, I mean-
Councilor McGivern.
We're not a game show.
Thank you, Mr. President. The mayor was fantastic last night, and again, his observations about overtime too, and I think Councilor Murphy, but Mayor Murphy, was working very hard with the police department on overtime issues, and I know Mayor Garcia is, and even last night he shared some stuff with us about his approach to the upcoming budget, and it's enlightening, and I think even department heads are appreciative of his knowledge and where we're going. I just wanted to continue with what Councilor Bacon was saying, because I couldn't agree with it more, and maybe along with what Councilor Bartley was saying, maybe this will make sense, or I don't know if it even can be done, but it's a double-edged sword. When we are faced with a budget and we look at the revenue coming in, and the revenue says we have X for a deficit, the mayor has cut so much, and we often say we're going to balance the budget, or try to balance the budget the best we can by making our cuts during the budget period. While we're making those cuts, and when I've heard quotes, from city councilors, if there's extra cash or surplus cash or free cash, we can replace this money as the fiscal year goes on. Mayor Garcia said it, and it's a moving target. That's fine. But when we look at that cherry sheet, I call it, at the recapitulation sheet itself, and we look at the lack of revenue to support the mayor's budget that's in front of us, we don't count these grants. And that's a big problem at the beginning of the year, that we don't know the millions of dollars, police departments, fire department. God forbid if anybody ever understood how many millions of dollars go into the school department and how that is spent. But, and one of my, favorite all-time auditors, Brian Smith, used to scratch his head on the school department grants. And again, grants are wonderful. They save the taxpayers dollars. But when you're looking at a budget in June, and we say this is the deficit, but there's $1 million coming into the police, millions of dollars into the police department, equal amount into the fire department, other departments, not as much, but the same thing. That changes the deficit that we're looking at, and maybe that would change the way we cut the budget if we could have that on the recap sheet as we approach the budget cycle itself. I'm just throwing that out because there's a lot of good comments tonight, but tonight we just got to help a department head get through the rest of the year, and we recommend we adopt this transfer.
All right, seeing no one further, a motion was to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. Clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfer.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puelo,
Yes.
I. Rivera,
No.
J. Rivera,
Yes.
Tommen,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
12 yeas, 1 nay.
Your vote, you approve that one. 16L, Committee on Finance to accept the in-kind gift to the Veteran Services of one pallet of various games for $2,821.50. Motion be receive and adopt.
Motion is to adopt, Mr. President. This is a fun one, and not just because it's games and puzzles, but a learning, I think also a learning experience as to what this is about. But if I could take a personal privilege, Mr. President, with your permission, I just want to say thank you to both the members of the Finance, all the members of the Finance Committee last night, and 5, actually began with 6. We had 11 full city councilors at the meeting, and we had 10 throughout the meeting. We were there for over 4 hours. And there's still orders in the jacket that are waiting, along with orders that came in tonight that we need to turn over because finance appropriations, revenues, and grants need to be, with a 2-week to 4-week turnover so that they can be spent appropriately. I want to just personally thank everyone for last night because a big bulk of our discussion last night, again, was the middle school bond, which is important. It's backed us up a little bit for the day-to-day stuff, but tremendous effort by everybody last night. And I can't thank you enough. And hopefully next Monday we'll get through the middle school bond and we'll be back to a more normal schedule, but we'll see. This is fun. A gift. Any gift given to the city has a monetary value. Mass General Law says the mayor and the city council legislative body, must vote to accept. A department head cannot just take anything with value into their use. This is a great gift, a generous gift from a company known as SECO. SECO is giving at a value of $2,821.50 over 300 games for the Veterans Affairs Department to use. Families of veterans themselves, things like that of that nature. I just think it's a feel-good thing. Jesus did the proper thing. The mayor understood with his background immediately that this does have to come through the proper channels. The committee recommends that we allow the Veterans Affairs to accept the gift.
All right, so motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion is passed the second reading. Clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting to accept the gift.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puelo,
Yes.
I. Rivera,
Yes.
J. Rivera,
Yes.
Tommen,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous.
With your vote, you approve that one. 17, we're on to Public Safety Committee. 17A, Committee on Public Safety was referred in order that the city engineer review and determine the 4-way stop sign at Fairfield and Nonotuck. Recommend that the order be referred to ordinance following recommendations from the city engineer. Councilor Rivera.
So I want to thank the other committee members for helping me out with the first time of running a committee and that day, and being patient with me for those that watched or were there, because it's a learning curve for me and for some of the others that are new too as well, I believe. Maybe they already know how to do it though, but hey. This order was filed by Councilor McGee, I believe. It was a while back. I don't know exactly because I don't have the form in front of me. But so just for reference, in the future, I'm going to kind of take the same approach that Councilor Bacon did. I'm going to be working on cleaning out the jacket because there are a lot of things. I saw some items from 2016, 2017-ish. So for me, it's I'm going to be filing many orders from time to time and putting them in the jacket and taking them out of the jacket and trying to get them just to leave with withdrawal or whatever it is that we do with them to clean out the jacket. So the conclusion with this order ended up being that we have to refer it to ordinance after speaking with the city engineer, Bob Parent, so that ordinance can actually create an ordinance around it, I believe, if I'm correct, and then have it be sent to the full committee so it could be voted on. So Yeah, that's where that's at, and I believe I have to do a motion to
Motion is to receive,
receive
refer it
and
over.
refer to ordinance, right?
Yep.
There you go.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed? Thank you. We're now on
Good job,
to
Izzy.
Thank you guys for your time.
public service.
I watched you. You did a great job.
And the president showed up late on you, too. As a
Oh
member.
man,
Yeah.
I mean, but the time he was there, he supported it. I appreciate that.
Not gonna live that one down. I walked in thinking I was 10 minutes early. Figure that one out. All right. Well, that's how it happens. You changed it to 6, not 6:30. I see how you're playing. No, I'm kidding. All right. So, Public Service Committee, 18A, the Committee on Public Service was referred in order. This is for the community preservation. Francesca Nunez, and they want to be a candidate. Councilor Tallman, is this to receive and
Yeah, motion
appoint?
receive, adopt, and confirm the appointment.
Motion is receive and adopt and approve the appointment. Under discussion, Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, we had a good meeting here. Francesca Nunez came on the Zoom call here for us, and I'd like to thank Councilor Puello and Councilor Bartley joining me for this committee. And Izzy, you're not alone. I'm sort of new at this too, as far as chairing a committee. I haven't chaired a committee in probably about 8 to 10 years, and I've been around a while, and I'm still learning. So, but it's a good experience, and thanks to my colleagues with this. She was born in Springfield and raised in Holyoke. She lives in the Flats. She's a youth advocate. She's already actually attended 5 of the CPA meetings, and she was familiar with the Project Lady Liberty at Veterans Park and the affordable housing over by Jackson Street. So really is great to see some people from different wards involved. She is bilingual. She can actually speak, write, and read both languages, which is impressive to me. And she's looking forward to rolling up her sleeves and getting involved in city. And people there, they're the lifeblood, you know, the volunteers that work on these committees, you know, for a little pay and then making meetings and staying at a meeting for 3-4 hours sometimes for one of her projects. It's really commendable that people are willing to step up and help out.
So, anyone further? Seeing no one further, motion is that we confirm the appointment. All those, Councilor McGivern.
Just a question, Mr. President. It was a little unclear. I agree with the appointment, but is it our appointment or are we confirming the mayor's appointment?
This, because
This came through the
when
mayor.
we did when we originally set up the committee, the mayor had, was it 2 and we had 3 or something? It was weird.
Right.
So we have 3.
The council has appointments.
Yeah, so we have appointments.
See,
These
the only
would be
reason I
ours.
ask is our appointment should be by ballot.
That's right.
Well, it was different because the CPA was different. We didn't do it by a ballot system because the way we were setting that one up. Remember, it was actually it was. And now I remember it clearly. It was a 3, a 2, and a 1.
You got it.
And then, so we appointed to the 1 year, and then the 2 year, and the 3 year.
Yeah.
So are these
So-
mayoral appointments?
So these would
can't
be our appointments,
Can't be
but
ours.
what year are they for the 1, 2, or 3 year?
Oh.
That we need to.
Oh, so we better table these 2.
Yeah, these,
Figure
because
out-
that's the way it rolled out when we first did this.
And who are they replacing?
And there has been a lot of turnover there.
Yeah,
Councilor,
I don't have any
if I may.
names of
hold on,
replacements.
Councilor Rivera.
So I can't speak exactly to who they are replacing. The thing I can speak to is I'm replacing Michael Sullivan, and whoever is on Parks and Recs, which I think is Helena Dell, is replacing me on Parks and Recs. If we table it, cool. But the thing is that like they're having issues with making quorum,
Right.
and the sooner we can try to get this figured out, the better.
I think it would be best that we table these 2. It's been a while.
Mhm.
And it really, it was a 3-year term, a 2-year term, and a 1-year term. And the reason I just remember was because former Mayor Pluta.
That's
I
right.
think she got the 3,
Yep,
and then
she
we
was on
moved
there with
into
us.
the 2 and the 1. So we have to do it correctly in the sense of who goes into each slot, so that the following year and I think what happened was we kind of lost track of it.
And it should go in with our municipal officer positions at the beginning of the year, theoretically, like Water Commission and all those. Like you'd vote on one every year.
Yeah. So how about we take
Those 2?
A and B and take them up as a package and table them.
And we'll
If
figure
you
it
want
out
to.
till, at the next meeting.
And in the next meeting, we'll just confirm
Yeah.
which one they're replacing again.
Awesome.
Which
Find out. I think that's important, yeah.
I will ask the question, did we advertise if it's a vacancy so that, like, how did we get these names?
These have been advertised, because I remember Counselor Sullivan came to me and said, we need people, advertise it. And that's when the former HR was here, and we did advertise it.
Okay.
But it kind of lost track because then that person took off.
Okay, so these are the, Miss Ortiz and Miss Nunez are the only two people that applied?
From what I know.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I just want to make sure that if we vote by a ballot, all of us know who all the candidates are, so everybody knows who you get to pick from. Makes sense.
And we
Right?
can have
Right.
Jeff put it back up online to make
Yeah.
sure.
And just make sure, if there were any applications, all the counselors were provided with those, so nobody feels like you slighted them, like, hey, I applied, you might have, I may have wanted to vote
Yeah,
for you, or,
I know it's.
It's been a while. Yeah, I agree that we put it back, but I think as soon as we can get these back on so they can have their meetings,
Yeah,
because it's important to have a quorum for the.
and generally speaking, if it's a multi-situation like that, where it's not a mayoral appointment, we send all the applicants to the thing, and you give each one an opportunity to have 15 minutes to come in and say why you're the best candidate, and then the committee sends it out with no recommendation.
But I do believe these are the
Yeah,
only
I was
two people
gonna
that have
say
applied.
to be fair to the two individuals, they showed up to the last meeting and they kind of did their little 15.
They did their interviews, yeah, on Zoom. They both did.
No, they're all set, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just saying if there were no other applicants, then it's probably it all works
All
out in
right,
the
so
wash.
we'll get this fixed. Counselor McGivern.
I just want to make it known, though, but the Public Service Committee did a good job of vetting these candidates. There's no question about their integrity, their qualifications, and their willingness to serve. It's just very confusing because the CPA is so new in the way we set it up, and whether it's our appointment or which vacancy is and how long the vacancy is, because it's obviously midterm for each of the positions that they're filling.
Yep. So
Okay.
18A and B take up as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion
Motion
to
to
table.
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 All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And then we'll follow up with the information needed.
Okay.
Okay. 18C, Public Service was referred, Merrill appointing Morris Pate to serve as the Board of Appeals, which it's a 2-year term which will expire July 1st, 2023. Recommended that be confirmed. Counselor Tallman.
Motion received, adopt and confirm the appointment.
Second.
Morris has been on, he was on last year. I think he was appointed by either Mayor Morris or Mayor Murphy, and we had Mayor Garcia actually put this appointment through. He's been at already several meetings. He was here actually in person that night, and he has been an associate member of the Board of Appeals. They meet as needed, sometimes 3 or 4 times a year for zoning appeals. He works with Aaron Vega and Jeff, and they had a couple of things that deal with basically variances. And he talked about one issue where there's somebody that wanted to build a house on their property in the back, and they had to go through the process of can they do that in this land, setbacks and everything. He's very interested. He says he wanted to be involved in the city. He lives right in Ward 1 over here in St. Colby Drive, and he's ready to keep on working. He's been making the meetings right along anyways, and I think he's a great addition to that board.
Anyone further? Counselor Rivera.
I just want to make a comment that I think it's awesome that all these Ward 1 people are getting involved in. That's it.
All right, so motion is to confirm the, Counselor McGivern.
Just to follow up on that, it's just that Ward 1 has a lot of progressive individuals that come forward. One thing Mr. Partey did know and understand is a variance by a petitioner. The petitioner's first thing they must establish is a hardship, and he understood that, which is important.
All right, so on the appointment, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 18D from Public Service, from Mayor, reappointing Mimi Panage to the Commissioner of the Planning Board, which is a 5-year term, which will expire June 30th, 2024. Recommended that the appointment be referred back to the city council. So to Councilor Thomas.
Motion received and confirm the appointment
Motion is received and confirm the appointment.
to the planning board. Ms. Panich was here by Zoom. We asked her several questions. She's been involved on the planning board, I think, since Mayor Pluta, actually. So we're going back at least, 12 years, 12, 13 years. And she has been, various things that they deal with on this board, zoning ordinances, the technical work, the buffers, everything with the marijuana facilities, setbacks. And she's willing to work and continue her work with the city in this field, and she's very knowledgeable and has a lot of experience in this. And she did make this statement that, they give recommendations to the planning board, but the city council has the ultimate final vote on any changes that are made in the planning of the city.
Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, thank you. I did have thanks to Pete, that obviously he did a great job. So I did have a chance to talk to the mayor about this appointment. I'm going to oppose this appointment. It's not for lack of intellect or passion for the city. It's if it was just one lawsuit she caused, I suppose that'd be it. It's two lawsuits. It wouldn't just be, it wasn't just for her opposition, but it's the lack, and this is the mayor saying this, the mayor saying there was a lack of clarity from room one giving directions to various board members across the city, and I think we know why. When you have a no-show mayor for 2 years, multiple years, board members are going to tend to make their own decisions, do that, and kind of go in a vacuum. This particular candidate, the Lynch School's one lawsuit, Log Cabin's a second lawsuit. My favorite one of all time with this particular candidate is her opposition to Gary Rome, which I hope most of us can agree that's been a winner, and those of us who were in ordinance at the time supported this. But her opposition was based on the fact that she didn't want to turn over what she deemed to be a meadow. And she didn't want to see that meadow. If you remember the debate with all that stuff, she helped facilitate that pushback. And if those weren't enough, when I hear from veteran attorneys that appeared before that board, and the pushback you get from, I get the fact, Mr. President, that the volunteers, and we can't have a city government without volunteers, and we respect all that. But when I have veteran attorneys, including former mayors that have appeared before them, and say to me, Councilor Bartley, we cannot get anything through this city, whether it's a planning board or other commissions, because of the steadfast lack of clarity and lack of direction from appointed members, and using personal agendas to deflect what would be good business propositions they felt and I felt for the city going forward. Now, I get this is not a roll call vote. I don't want a roll call vote. I'm just going to voice my quiet no. I don't expect anybody to join me really on this, but it's just an important position. And I did make it clear that I did speak to the mayor about this, and I told the mayor what I was going to do exactly. So this should not be a surprise to anybody. I don't want to just be one of those counselors that just turns around and votes no for, it just jumps in the middle of it and it doesn't give an explanation. So I think, this is a pivotal role for the city, the planning board, and I think you need members of that commission with a more civil and a more even temperament. I don't think this candidate fits the bill. Consequently, I'm going to oppose the nomination. Thank you.
Councilor Rivera.
If I may, I just would like to speak in favor of Mimi Panich. I worked with her for a couple years on the CPA, and I found her to be very knowledgeable, very polite, to be honest. We're in working with me, at least, and the dealings that we've done together. And I have to be honest, I kind of learned a lot from her while I was on that commission. So I feel like, although she's been on this. She's held the seat for about 10 to 12 years now, 13 years, I think they said. That should actually help her have like a foundation of what the mission and the goal has been for the last 10 to 12 years. So for me, this is me speaking in favor for her, and it's ironic to me that some people bring up certain topics that kind of like, I don't know.
Murphy Ramiletti?
Hi, yes, I just want to echo Councilor Rivera. I will be voting in favor of this. I personally don't always agree with everything that Mimi Panich puts forward. I don't always agree with her opinions on things, but we are, as a city, very lucky to have someone who volunteers their time and shows up prepared, does their homework, is willing to look at both sides, and puts in the effort for literally a volunteer position. And you know, I just think it's worth thanking her for her service. And we don't have to always agree with her or others on anything, but if their interest is in the right place, if their heart's in the right place, and if they do the work and they show up and they put the effort in, and they're always prepared, as Mimi is, I will be voting in favor of this. Thank you.
No one else. Motion is to
Mr. President?
Councilor Jane.
Yeah. I've given this a lot of thought on this one here, and, you know, I have voted for Ms. Panich many, many times. I'm actually a fan of hers. I think she's an extremely bright woman, very thoughtful, very articulate in many ways. She's very reflective. She's very careful in what she says. I'm actually an admirer. On the other hand, I gotta say, over the years, I have noticed a general negative disposition to people that she disagrees with. I don't feel that you feel like there's an open forum, like people that she disagrees with, you know, she likes to get on social media and start going at it and giving her 2 cents on everybody. You know, I get concerned about that. You know, the planning board's an important position. There is a general perception that we're anti-business. They look at her as the case study in why we're perceived as anti-business. I mean, whenever anybody says anything, they lead off with Mimi Panich up at the planning board. And like I said, I have been a supporter, but that doesn't mean because your past work has been, and I know she gives, you know, everything Tessa just said is 100% true. And I suppose I could say, well, you know, I just don't agree with her. And I think it's a situation where it really is time for a new person and to give a fresh perspective, to have somebody who really is maybe not so entrenched in their approach and has really more of an open mind on some of these projects that come forward. And I don't say that, you know, all of her conclusions are wrong, because I think she makes a number of good conclusions. I just think it's probably time to give somebody else a chance. And again, on balance, I don't think it would be terrible for her to be reappointed. On the other hand, I think it is definitely time to give somebody else a chance in this. And I've really kind of struggled because I've seen this name for a few weeks here, and I'm like, how am I going to vote on this? And I suppose I could just quietly shut my mouth, but I had to really perceive it that I've heard a lot of concerns, and I've heard a lot of complaints about the planning board. And if we're just going to keep reappointing all the same people, despite those concerns, and the lawsuits and the perception, and it's like there's no concern for even the image that of trying to be viewed as pro-business or viewed as welcoming in the community. I mean, it's like that isn't even considered a consideration by many on the current planning board, and that is a problem, okay? Even if you don't vote with somebody, at least make people feel comfortable with your decision. But when you have one thing after another seemingly going to very contentious legal challenges, all of this playing out, that's not good for the city either. And I think it's probably time for a new face, a fresh set of eyes, and there's plenty of other things. Maybe there's something else, because Mimi is an important part of this community. I really thank her for her service. It is a thankless job in many ways. It's a hard job, and she puts a lot of time into it. But I think you get so down into it for so long that I think you're losing perspective. And I think it's really time for a fresh set of eyes and a fresh view at the planning board. And that's why I have reservations voting for her. Not that she's not a good person and a bright person and a thoughtful person, because she's all of those things. And again, I have a personal fondness for her and her family too. Her parents are wonderful people. I just think maybe a different role for Mimi somewhere else in the city, doing something else, maybe another board, if she would be willing to serve. But I think it's time for us to get some new faces on this planning board. And that's really the basis of my reservation. So thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Anderson Burgos.
But yeah, I'm here. I'm so sorry. So first of all, I want to apologize for not, I know it must seem, I'm not present. It's because I'm in a lot of pain, especially today, but I have to say something. So, listen, I don't always agree with Mimi Panich, but I don't expect to. I don't expect to agree with a lot of people. That's not the way it works. We just listen to one another and you agree to disagree or whatever. But I'm also not going to sit there and talk about how many people, I mean, we don't even want to talk about how many people got us into lawsuits in the city who are either elected officials or sit in committee, like we can't start pointing fingers, because if we wanted to, there's going to be a long list of people who have gotten this city sued. So I'm not going to go that route either. I also am not going to go on a route about how people represent themselves on social media, because a lot of us, and I don't do it myself, but there's a lot of people that do. And, I don't do it for my own reasons, but for those people who go out there and try to educate, the public on their strong beliefs, you have to, hats off to that person, because they're putting themselves out there. They're Mimi is a very educated person. She's a very smart person, and I admire her. Again, even if I disagree with her, I love the passion that she brings. And if we want to talk about committee members that have sat in a seat for years, that's another list of people. There are a lot of people that sit in committees. Listen, I am going to support Mimi because I think it's the right fit for Holyoke. It's the right fit. Her heart and her passion is there. And that's about it. Thank you.
All right. Councilor Gifner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to point out that this is an order from the mayor. It's a reappointment of someone he's interested in having appointed to the position. And I feel like that has quite a bit of merit and weight for me. I think Ms. Mimi Panich brings a lot to the table. She does a lot for the city. I'm in agreement with some of the other comments on her behalf. And I just wanted to just point out that this is not just another reappointment. It's a request. So, thank you.
Seeing no one further, the motion is and it was, I think, typed out a little different, as Councilor Tallman said, is to confirm the appointment is how it should read. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
No.
I'd say the ayes have it.
Point of clarification.
Yes.
We were looking at the original order that came in from Mayor Garcia, and it states it's a 5-year term, but the term expires in 2024. I believe it's, because the reappointment came in late. I just want to confirm that that's the correct expiration date.
I think that's the correct date. I think it was because it came in from Mayor Morris, and it was tabled for legal review because I do believe her appointment was not even up yet, so you couldn't reappoint her until it was up. So then it laid in committee for a while. So we can confirm the date, but I do believe it is 2024. But we'll confirm that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a little difference in the sense of how it was getting reappointed, and it got caught up in legal.
Mr. President, can we take 18E and late file C, suspend and take as a package, please?
Second it.
Second.
Motion is take up 18D and late file C as a
I'm sorry,
package. All those-
18E, I'm sorry about that. 18E is in Edward. And late file C.
All right, E and C, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? E is to confirm the appointment of the Personnel Director, Kelly Kern, and C is her resume, it looks like. And this would be to
Motion to receive.
confirm the appointment under discussion. Councilor
Second.
Tallman.
Yes, motion to receive and confirm the appointment. We had Kelly Curran in here last week. It was, she was here personally, and the mayor had appointed her to this position. We're all aware of it, that we haven't had a personnel director for a number of months, or actually since last year. A very important position in the city. She comes over from the Holyoke Public Schools, Human Resources. I believe she has about 25 years experience. We asked her several questions about the running of the department and experience in Munis, data entry. I was really impressed with the employee assistant program. I think in that position, to really push the employee assistant program is important, because a healthy employer is a better working employee, people that stay in the job and enjoy their work. She was looking forward to working with the city. She had some ideas of what really looks at what she's done in the school department and to carry that over to the city of Holyoke. She's actually worked with the city on actually the Chapter 19 committee with the health services, the health plans that the city is going through. She has been part of that, and she's looking forward to working with the city in a very, very important position that is definitely needed, because we've had probably about 2 or 3 different human resource people in there in the last couple of years, and we really wanted to get somebody that's got the experience and somebody that will stay in this position, for the long term. And I believe Kelly Curran will be able to do that.
Councilor Jordan.
Yeah, I wanted to speak on behalf of Kelly. I think she's going to be a really good appointment. I've already had the opportunity to meet with her. She comes with a lot of energy into the position. She's got a great deal of experience already with the city. I'm looking forward to working with her and the mayor on this health insurance issue to see what we can do to save money in that regard. And that's, as everybody in the room knows, that's a big ticket item for us. And what we can do to really move us forward in that regard, which will be beneficial not only to taxpayers, but will be extremely beneficial to the employees if we can save them something, because it's really unfair how much the employees as a percentage of their income have to pay for health insurance, and it's really gotten to be staggering, the sum. So if we can do something to lighten the load, and Kelly just seems like she's just so full of energy and excitement and wanting to do a good job. I'm really looking forward to working with her in this regard, and I wish her the best of luck.
Counselor Vacan.
Thank you, Mr. President. So during the interview, I would say one of the things I was really impressed with, and I hope that she can actually accomplish, is using the Munis system for payroll. One of the largest losses of money in any business and municipality is the lack of control over time. If time is taken and it's not tracked, then at the end of service, the buyout sits there. And paper gets lost, paper gets just filed away, and sometimes the records never get updated. Years ago, we had a Munis person who was pushing for that and got a lot of pushback from the department heads. And I hope with our new mayor looking for efficiencies and a new HR person looking to modernize, that we get there. I think it's important for all our good employees that everybody's accountable within the system. I do have a question for the chair through the president, because we've taken up both orders, the confirmation and the late file. And we have two variations on a resume, and I'm wondering if the chairman could speak to that.
Yeah, sure can. When she applied on her resume at a shed date, she had a master's degree in May of 2018 in public administration at Westfield State. She officially did walk and get the diploma, but since there was a couple credits, I think, that what happened is there was a payment, either a grant or a loan from the school that still has to be paid. It hasn't been official, and I talked to her probably about a half hour before the meeting tonight for about 15 minutes, and stated that she will be paying that off, and when that is done, she'll get the official transcript that she does have the master's degree in public administration. It was not a requirement of this job to have that, but I did state that when she does get that and that payment done, she will get that to me and to the mayor, the actual transcript that she does have the official master's degree in public administration, and I believe that she will do that.
Thank you, and if that could come to the council too.
The council, yes, that should be done, yep, I agree.
Thank you.
Counselor Bartley.
Yeah, I just want to thank the chair for clarifying that. Always on point and helpful as always. I think that this particular candidate, as the chair pointed out that night, as some of us had pointed out earlier, the department's been, basically a revolving door. Some of us have called it a gong show for years because of the way it's gone from one person to. And this is a department that had a steady hand for a long time, way before I got involved in city government, and then the last several years, just one person after another, either flunked out or quit or just disappeared, and then even the last candidate, a lovely person, gave her a raise and then months later she quit. So I think Kelly shows that she's been with the city a while now on the public school side. Hopefully when we hear from HR, it'll just be giving us good updates about what's going on in HR. It really is a pivotal position. And she's coming in pretty high on the salary scale, so I'm hopeful that that's going to be reflected in the job duties. It's a pressure job. It's got a lot of time commitments across many disciplines, and there's a lot of areas of law that you really have to be sharp on. So I'm hopeful that Kelly will get the proper training, that she'll properly budget for that she'll work with the law department, that she'll work with her colleagues across the Commonwealth that have been in this position, because they have listservs, et cetera, that can help one another.
So it's going to be critical. And it's a position where you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. On the other side of the coin, you can help out people that are in need in a lot of ways. And the chairman pointed out one of the major employee benefits that we have. And you can really be a shoulder to lean on. And I think Kelly can be that person. So I do want to compliment the mayor on naming, I think, a great candidate. And I'm looking forward to working with her during my time in office. Thank you.
Councilor McGivern.
I too would like to commend Mayor Garcia for this appointment, and it's a lateral move from the public schools, a position that Kelly began at a very young age, because I was surprised when I heard she had 25 years experience. She actually was in school when she began working with the school department and climbed a ladder, into a position where I think she's reached her peak at the public schools at this level, is looking for a bigger or more important responsibilities and opportunity. It's a loss to the school department, but I think it's a gain, that we keep her within the city and that we're not losing her to another position in another city. She has the experience. She gave a reasonable explanation for the education issue on her resume. Ironically, this is the position that vets out resumes, and I think she understands that. And I think she feels very bad that she didn't fully explain the masters, but I think when you masters are very expensive, and when you do a course and you think that the grant or loan is paying for it and you end up a little bit short, it takes time to pay the bill. But the important part is the education is there, and I think the experience is what we're looking at, and Mayor Garcia is making a good appointment, and be happy to confirm this one.
Seeing no one further, a motion is that we confirm the appointment for the Personnel Director, Kelly Curran. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
There's no DGNR. There's Charter and Rules. 20A. Committee on Charter and Rules refer to amend the City Council ruling by adding legal form of ordinance changes shall be provided 48 hours prior to a City Council meeting. Have considered the same, recommend that the order be adopted as to Rule 58. Councilor Velez.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this first rule was an order put in by Councilor Bacon. So it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty much just saying that we need to have legal form for any sort of ordinance votes at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Yeah, that's really it. Nothing. One thing that Bacon did say was, there's nothing against the legal department. This is more for us as a council body to make sure that we have the forms and the information before we take a vote on it. There has been times where we come in here and we don't even know what we're voting on, and so we just want to make sure that we get rid of that as much as possible.
All right, so we're going to amend Rule 58 to require the 48 hours. Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Chairman Maldonado Velez. I want to note that when there are straightforward traffic, parking, and legal forms of that sort, it won't prohibit those from being able to come in the day of the meeting. It is recognized that our legal team is very busy and they're still digging out from a lot of old work. So I just want to make sure that this isn't interpreted to being a blanket over everything. I think it's most important when we have complicated and longer changes to the ordinances so that we'll all have time to look at it so we pick up any kind of errors or unintentional changes before we put it into the books. Thank you.
Councilor Jordan.
Yes, I just for clarity, more than anything, because I do strongly support this, is the wording that we're going to add to Rule 58 is the legal form for ordinance changes shall be provided 48 hours prior to a city council meeting, and then if legal form is not provided 48 hours prior to the meeting, upon objection of any member of the council, the matter will be tabled until the next meeting, period, right?
That's it.
Okay.
That's the language.
And then the rest of it is just sort of a interesting narrative, but not, okay.
Right, that's just the way I wrote it.
Very good. Okay, so I just want to, that's what'll appear. For okay, very good.
Correct. And as Councilor Bacon said very well, is it's not looking to do it all, but if someone does have an objection, that allows you to deal with that one. So I think that is kind of like the way of compromising to it. Anyone else? So motion is to amend 58 as read. The legal form of ordinance changes shall be provided 48 hours prior to city council meeting, period. If the legal form is not provided 48 hours prior to the meeting, comma, upon objection of any member of the city council, the matter will be tabled until the next meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to take off 20B.
Second.
20B, Committee on Charter and Rules was referred in order that the City Council amend and clarify reinforcement of Rule 61. The committee must act within 30 days of the City Council referral. Any not act on with any shall be deemed table. Recommended that the order be adopted as amended from changing 30 days to 45. Councilor Maldonado Velez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to take the opportunity with this order to just announce the next Charter and Rules Committee meeting, which is Wednesday, February 23rd at 6:30 p.m. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we did have some good discussion with this particular order, whether 30 days, 45 days, what does it mean for an order to be tabled? And I feel like these are conversations that we need to have as a body. Right now, one thing I mentioned when we first got elected and got the city council rules, it's a hot mess. Not pointing fingers at anyone, but I think it can be organized better and more reader friendly and just make sense of all the rules and everything. So wanted to put that into this with saying that as precursor to this order where we discussed whether it should be 30 days or 45 days. We decided on 45 days because realistically, in practice, it is very difficult to have orders be taken up within 30 days if the committee is not meeting regularly, or if, for example, I mean, we just had 15A through 15 small p, so there's a lot of orders in the jackets that, in practice it won't work. So this is sort of the solution for right now, but as I mentioned, is a part of the conversation that we want to have in the next charter and rules. So I would recommend that we change the 30 days to 45 days.
So motion is to change 61 from 30 days to 45. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to take off 20C.
20C, Committee on Charter and Rules will refer an order at Rule 32 be amended to add and marijuana establishments after except for home room occupation to describe to the DGR committee. This needs to be updated to reflect the ordinance committee handles those petitions. Recommend that the order be adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President. This was an order put in by Councilor Anderson Burgos from last legislative term, but straightforward. It's just adding the language that and marijuana establishments is not taken up in a DNGR committee, but it's actually taken up in ordinance. So I recommend that we adopt that amendment, that change.
All right, so motion is to make that update. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? You want to take up D, E, F, and G as a package?
Yes, motion to take up D, E, F, and G as a package.
Motion is suspend the rules, take them up as a package. All those in favor? All opposed? D is to change Rule 2. E is to change Rule 37. F is to change Rule 4. And G is to change Rule 62 to degender the language in our rules. Councilor?
So thank you, Mr. President. So going through the rules, again, so I'm just thinking of changes. These are sort of the smaller ones that came up for me, is just making sure that we're not gendering language. Right now it says the solicitor is a he, the city clerk is a he, and for some it may not mean a lot. And I know Councilor Bacon mentioned language from the past and what it means, but I think we just, as a body, we can change and really make sure that anyone that's coming into this body feels that they can read the rules and know that they're a part of the rules with being degendered. I know one of the other comments was there's some that says he or she, and my response to that was, we're at a point where people can identify or identify they're neither he nor she, and they get to choose what their gender is. So I just want to make sure that, at the very least, to start off with, it's only month one, that the charter and rule or the city council rules are degendered, and then we can look at other things. So I just recommend that we something that came up after was that these weren't the only rules that were gendered. There was Rule 41, I believe it was, that also had gender language. So that's why we chose to amend it so that all the city council rules be gendered, not just the ones that were put in an order.
Correct. Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Chairman Maldonado Velez. The only suggestion I would make, I will be supporting this, is that in our rules, anywhere where it says he or she, we simply state the name of the position. And that will just make everything clear that it's the position. Thank you.
Councilor Jordan.
Yeah, that was kind of where I was going with it. I think that's the best approach. This way we're not, it's neutral for everybody as opposed to they, and I don't even know what you use after you go beyond he or she. So I think to make it the safest, it just seems like you use the position. This way it covers everybody.
All right, so how about an amendment? Because I know, because it's missing from here, and Councilor Maldonado said it correctly, is there was 41 as well as amend throughout the rules. So how about amend throughout the rules to degender and or list the position?
Yeah, so if it's like the president shall XYZ, instead of saying he will do, just say the president
will.
The president shall. That seems reasonable to everybody.
Is that a motion? I'll second it.
All right, hold on. So
I guess, I mean, I don't.
wait 1 second,
Okay, my bad.
Councilor Rivera. So that was an order that was motion seconded. Now to you, Councilor Rivera.
Or no. I mean, so I don't have a preference because I myself recognize as he, but I just they or identifying as the president to me is kind of the same. Just I mean, I get the point, but at the same time, saying they them, it's not. It's still neutral in a sense. You know what I mean? But like just for a point of clarification and like whatever. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, I agree.
I will.
I'm just.
Yeah.
Here's what we'll do. I know Councilor Maldonado Velez is coming up with another, it'll be for next time, with regards to trying to make it more user-friendly and flow better. He's given samples, Amherst as well as Boston or something
Yes.
like that.
So two extremes. Yeah.
So what we'll do is, when we get those and we update it, and then Jeffrey and him will work on it in the sense of come up with a final version within charter and rules, everyone can agree on it, and then we'll vote on that as a final package going out. But for now, let's get this amendment done to then have them start on getting the work going. Does that make sense?
Yes.
We're fair?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Councilor Reagan, you had a hand up? Or sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to note that within the orders, we had said all city council rules.
Yeah,
He sort of took care of it all.
Yeah, he did say that.
Yeah, okay,
So
thanks.
on the amendment, as to these, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. There was no joint school or city council. We're on to motions, orders, and resolutions. If it's going to committee, don't debate it. So the first one is 22. It's from myself. Ordered that the city council present a proclamation to Gail LaRose for a dedicated service to children at Ian White. Just make a motion to receive, adopt, and approve the proclamation.
Second.
And
Motion
just
to
let
adopt?
people know who it is. She is the crossing guard at Ian White. She has no clue this is happening. I was approached by
that's nice.
the principal and the teachers. She is a wonderful woman, and what she does, ice on the
Awesome.
ground. She brings her own sand and salt from her house, and she's
awesome.
just amazing. So they want to give her something just to recognize her with the kids.
That's great. That's
So to approve that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much for that. 23 is from Councilor McGivern.
Item 23, if you could take it off the table for the purpose of passing the first reading and
Motion
adoption.
be receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Under discussion, Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. I spoke with the city clerk earlier today, and this is a request. The transfer is for the purpose of paying bills that are from the November, I think, election, maybe possibly even the primary. The principal clerk has been partially vacated during the year. That's why there's a surplus for the $7,444.20. The buying microphone and film, if I'm correct, is what printing of the ballots, the money would come from. Other services are bills that need to be paid, related to the election itself. It's become a 60-day cycle that these bills are about to be overdue. I think in fairness, the city clerk, that both these line items were cut by Mayor Murphy in the original budget, despite her pointing out that they really need the money because of the types of elections that were taking place this past November, and she is proving her point that the bills have come in and there's no money to pay them.
The motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion is passed the second reading. The clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting to pay the bills.
Maldonado Velez.
Yes.
McGee. McGivern.
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Yes.
Puello.
Yes.
Ivy Vera.
Yes.
J. Rivera.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Bartley.
Yes.
Givner.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Your vote, you approve that one.
You make a motion to suspend the rules to take items 24, 27, 28, and 29 as a package and refer to finance.
Second.
Second it.
Let me get them. Motion to take up as a package 24, 27, 28, and 29. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 24, 7,000 from development specialist.
I thought that went to finance, 24.
Yeah, it's going to go to finance.
Oh, you're reading it anyway. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
I learned that from you, Kevin.
Forgot, you still got to read them. Yeah, I
There
apologize.
was a president before who didn't read them, just said go to finance.
Finance. No, Kevin actually yelled at us one night. No, I'm just kidding. Counselor James said, we got to read these. 27, but abbreviated. This is the Veterans Grant, 15,000, the 50% match. 28 is the Firefighters Equipment Grant, $23,063. 29 is the Green Communities grant for $15,000, no match. All those to finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I
25.
suspend the rules and take 25 and 26 as a package, please.
Second.
Motion to suspend
Second.
rules, take up 25 and 26 as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 25 is $3,208.93 from captain to injured on duty. 26 is $3,229.38 from captain to injured on duty. Motion be receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
I think you're going to see the numbers are going down a little bit, and I think a lot of people are coming off of injured on duty. One of the long-term ones is anyways. But this is an accounting thing, just so that we know when the line items are used for pay, a person, an individual in public safety, especially injured on duty, still gets paid their salary. But this shows that, the money was during a period of time when the service, because of the injury on duty, was not provided.
All right, so motion pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion to pass the second reading. Clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for both.
Maldonado Velez.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Yes.
Puello.
Yes.
Ivy Vera.
Yes.
J. Rivera.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Bartley.
Yes.
Givner.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous.
With your vote, you approve that. 30 is from Councilor Murphy Ramboletti. Order that the DG&R committee invite in Lynn Gray from the general manager for Holyoke Mall to talk to the city council. So to DG&R.
DG&R.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
31 is from Councilor Puello. If the school receiver, Anthony Soto, and his team be requested to explore the steps, costs, and federal reimbursements associated with the reestablishment for the Air Force Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps or a similar sister service program to the public schools. Is additionally requested that the interest be measured to determine the student body support of such programs. So joint school?
Yeah, and if I could just clarify real quick, I did reach out to the State Ethics Committee to make sure that I could file this. I'm employed by the Mass Air Guard, and they said it's all set. I'm in the process of filling out the 23 disclosure form, and the clerk can make that available for anybody.
Okay.
And Mr.
With
President?
the permission of Baker, I'd like to be added to this.
All right, adding Councilor.
Me too.
The whole council.
Bacon,
Yeah, me three.
Renee,
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
Tallman, Rivera. Anyone else?
You could actually add me for the next 4.
Anderson Burgos.
Anderson Burgos and Councilor Jordan. You're just raising your hand, or you're saying add on?
No, I want to be a co-sponsor, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so adding all those counselors. All right, so that is going to the joint committee. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? 32 is from Counselor Rivera and Puello, that the city council review and approve the cultural district resolution. So that would be
Ordinance?
to public service?
Mr. President,
Public service.
can I be added on?
Yep.
Yeah, I would like to be added to that one too.
Myself also, please.
All right, adding Counselor Anderson Burgos,
And
McGee, Rivera, Maldonado Velez. Did I miss anyone? Nope. All right. And that's the public service. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? From Counselor Rivera, order that the city of
Mr.
Hoyoke establish
President?
a three.
can, I think if I'm doing it right, motion to suspend the rules and take 33 and 34 as a package?
You can.
Yeah.
Motion to suspend rules, take up a package, 33 and 34. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
33 is order that the city of Hoyoke establish a three-way stop sign at the corner of Mosier and Center Street. And 34 is order that the city council establish a three-way stop sign at Mosier and Bridge Street. And both would go to ordinance.
And can I also be added to them?
Yep. Adding Councilor Rivera. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 35 is from Counselor Vacan, request that the Commissioner Patty Devine, that Section 2-201.1 duties and qualifications of the General Superintendent of the Department of Public Works be reviewed and consider proposed amending the language. That would go to ordinance.
Just Mr. President,
Yeah, Counselor
it's
Bartley.
under discussion, what's being proposed?
I guess the change, review and consider proposed amendments to
If
the
I-
duties and qualifications.
So,
Counselor Vacan.
thank you. We received a communication from Commissioner Devine that's going to ordinance also, and they're seeking to modify the duties and qualifications of the superintendent. They want to change them. So it will be discussed and debated in committee, and we'll make a recommendation to the council. The reason I filed it is because the prior order simply made a statement that we determine the duties and qualifications. It didn't really say what we would be doing with them.
Yep, so there was a communication
that's
we
all.
received earlier in the week, and then now this.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're pairing them up.
Oh, respectfully, this doesn't say it either. Just says you want to modify it. I mean, is there anything being specified? Was, for
in that
example,
it's in that
you want to add a, you need to have a doctorate or something, or what are we doing?
It's in the communication.
So, and I think, did we already receive that communication? I think earlier. And
Yep.
what they're seeking to do is, at least my understanding partly, is to eliminate the engineer requirement.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying, I'm saying this is the request that's coming in to be discussed,
Correct.
which is why I wanted to clarify that it would be amended. We're not just reading it. Thank you.
So that is to ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 36 is from Counselor Anderson Burgos, that the DPW Commissioner appear before the ordinance committee to discuss proposed language changes to 2-201 of the city ordinances. That would also go to ordinance.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 37 is from Counselor Bartley, that the city council invite Sarah Greenleaf from the Urban Forestry.
It goes to DGR, that's Councilor Poyle's on that too.
And that'll go to DGNR. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Me too, but.
38 is from Counselor Bartley, Counselor Puello, that the city engineer review the signage at Maple Street, South Street, multiple accidents near the, have
public
occurred
safety,
there,
please.
so
Safety?
Yep.
that would be to
Second.
public safety with a copy to the engineer.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
39 is from Counselor Bartley, that the residents are offered an opportunity to meet in the neighborhood with a public official and public board member who are making decisions with a little to zero neighborhood input. The city shall not spend any funds or incur a cost for any buildings, including a new school. So this would go to joint committee?
No.
No?
Public service?
Okay, well, we can guess it all wrong. So what I'd like to, so my motion is to receive this and send it to ordinance right now.
for a discussion there, please.
All right, so motion is to receive, refer to ordinance.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 40.
Why would it go to ordinance?
From Counselor Bartley, that the Hoyoke zoning ordinance shall be amended to no longer allow daycare services R1 or R2 directly by right or by only for the city council special permit, refer to ordinance and a copy to legal.
Thank you.
All those in, what?
I did want to ask one question. It was my understanding under state law, these are allowed by right. So you'll provide some,
Yeah, that's all. That's
there'll be
exactly
some
right.
information forthcoming?
Yeah, if it's, I'm not clear on that law, Kevin, and if it's by right, by state law, then game's over. But that's why I want to send to legal, and if it knocks out of the box, then so be it.
So,
So-
yeah, you may want to plumb into that because it's my general impression that daycares are exempt under zoning and
State law.
whether it's good or bad, that is the law as I
Yeah, that's
understand it.
fair
So
enough.
if there's some new revelation, I'd love to hear it.
All right, so
So the
40 is
ordinance with
to
a copy
ordinance
to
with a
legal?
copy to legal.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 41 from Councilor Maldonado Velez, request to the mayor for the annual State of Hoyoke address to public service. And don't we just invite him in?
Wouldn't
for our
it be
meetings?
receive, adopt, and refer?
Yeah, so receive,
Thank you.
adopt, and we'll send to the mayor to set up a date.
And Mr. President?
Yep.
I think this is a good order by Councilor Maldonado Velez, and historically, we have done this before for other mayors. We have typically allowed, I would connect as the president with the mayor and say, would you like to come in to sort of give a state of the city address? And I think this is a good tradition. I'm glad you filed this. And I think it would be in good form once a year for the mayor to give sort of a state of the city address before a session of the city council, and tell
Yeah.
us where we'd have to pick what time of the year, but generally it was like a January, February sort of time frame, so it might be topical if he's ready for us.
I'll
But
invite him.
up to your discretion, Mr. President.
I'll give him a minute, 30 seconds. Just kidding. Come on. It's a late night. All right. I'll follow up with the mayor tomorrow. But motion is receive, adopt, send to the mayor.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 42 is from Councilor Maldonado Velez. Institute a quarterly town hall where residents are able to come in and express their concerns with more time allotted than public comment. So that'd be public
Public service.
All those in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 43.
But by the way, on 42, there's a provision in this city charter as to how people can get items and have those type of meetings, by the way. I think it's section 8 of the charter, just FYI.
50 signatures.
So here, 43 is a relook at committee responsibilities and restructure. So that would go to charter and rules. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 44 from Councilor Maldonado Velez, add a rule to require a set monthly meeting time of all city council committees. That's
Charter and rules?
charter and rules.
Point of clarification, is that beginning and end?
Wait,
Just
what?
ask
Springfield.
for a friend.
Springfield has like an end time.
I wish.
That'd be
Charter
good.
and rules. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? There are a few late files. We already took care of one.
Motion adjourned. Second that.
Hard of hearing tonight, hard of hearing. All right, A from Councilor Jenny Rivera. This is order that the city of Hoyoke establish a four-way stop sign at the corner of Race and Appleton Street. That'll go to ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? B is the regular minutes of the meeting of January 18th from the, regular meeting for the city council, January 18th,
So what do we have to
2022.
do, receive and table them?
If you haven't seen them yet, might as well just table them.
Yep.
All right, so motion is to table. All those in favor?
Aye.
D is, the bond interest rates. I think everyone would have got a copy of this.
Oh, that was from Cinder.
Motion
Finance.
received before the committee of finance.
That would go to
Finance.
finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? E is the solar zoning ordinance and use storage batteries.
Ordinance?
So that would go to ordinance.
Was that the legal opinion?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the ordinance. All
Yes,
those in
please.
favor?
Aye.
And that,
Wasn't there one from the G&E?
There is.
oh, unless it got caught up on there. Yep. There is one from the G&E. This is the Green Communities Fiscal Year 22 Meta Grant Award, Dean School Technical Study.
Refer to finance?
Education, so that would go to finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Is that it?
Motion is to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We stand adjourned.
Okay, have a good
Good night.
evening.
Good night.